A very good evening to everyone out there. So my name is Smriti Shah, and on behalf of Vision IAS, I welcome all of you for the second session of the analysis with respect to UPSC GS paper 1. Today we are going to analyze Indian society and post-independence. So finally, the spell of drought in context of post-independence has come to an end, and you have just no clue how much overwhelming this is for post-independence that finally, after so many years, it has managed to find some space in UPSC mains paper. There is one question which has been asked this year. At least I have something to discuss with the students in context of post-independence this year. So on a serious note, before we start with the session, I know it is slightly delayed wish, but I wish everyone out there a very, very happy new year. And I hope this new year brings a lot of success, a lot of happiness, a lot of peace and love in your life. I know the wish is slightly delayed, but this is the first time in this new session that we guys are interacting. And just one advice, please take care of your health. I know the COVID virus is again on its peak. So please don't let your guards down and take care of your health. Okay? So now we are going to start with this session. Today I'm going to analyze Indian society and post-independence with you. But before I start with this session, there are slight number of disclaimers, okay? And I would like to give those disclaimers just to make you feel at ease. First disclaimer is basically for those students who have written mains this year. You don't have to be bothered by the content which would be discussed in the subsequent sessions and as well as in the session today. The reason being, see, there is a lot of difference when you are writing the answers under so much of pressure and there are so many subjects which has to be fit in your tiny mind. So obviously you cannot have a lot of comprehensive analysis, and it is altogether a different ball game when you come here and you analyze the questions. So you don't have to get bothered by that. All you need to care is, if you wish to care, then all you need to do is just ensure that the overall structuring is same. But anyhow, that doesn't make the difference because you've already written your answers. So just be very hopeful. It is highly subjective paper, and whatever I'm going to discuss today, I am not claiming, and none of us are going to claim that this is the best possible answer or this is the only way that the answer should have been written. Absolutely rubbish, not at all. This analysis session is just to tell few of us that how the questions could have been approached, and basically to give you a sense of overall understanding that why such questions were asked, what was the trend, how you are supposed to prepare for future attempts, all of that, right? And some amount of analysis as far as respective questions are concerned. So you just don't bother. Just have the confidence that whatever answers that you've written was the best possible performance that you have made on the very given day. हम result के बाद सोचेंगे आगे की strategy क्या होगी. So till that time, just have faith in your attempt, just trust your God and your destiny, and you will sail through. Is that clear? क्योंकि अब हमारे पास और कोई चारा नहीं है ना, एग्जाम तो हमने दे दिया है, ठीक है? So that's one disclaimer. The second disclaimer are for those students who are going to attempt. अब सुनो, सबसे बड़ी चीज, that why are we conducting these sessions? One thing obviously we want you to tell you guys that how the questions have to be approached, what should be the analysis and everything. That's one thing, okay? But the second thing is also to give you an understanding that obviously the same question would not be repeated, right? So with respect to answer writing, with respect to what are the important key areas which needs to be focused upon, okay? How you should channelize your preparation for the subsequent or the coming attempts. That is the main idea behind these analytical sessions. Is that very clear? Okay? Is it making sense for everyone? Third and the final disclaimer, I have a tendency to give a slight elaborate answers. Uska reason hai, I wanted to give you an idea how different kind of introductions can be written, how the conclusions can also be written in a different manner, and a slight comprehensive analysis as far as the body of the answer is contained, right? So what will happen is the answer would not be limited to 150 words or 250 words. That is your duty. that whatever is being discussed in the class, in this session, you have to extract according to your strengths. If I am giving you 2-3 sets of definition, you don't have to write all those definitions in your answers. You have to look and pick that definition which is convenient for you to remember. As simple as that. If I am giving you 10 to 15 arguments upon a particular issue, that doesn't mean that we expect you to write 10 to 15 arguments. या तो 10 number का question है या hardly 15 marker question. So either you have to write 150 words or you have to write 250 words. So there is no scope of writing so many arguments. So basically when we provide you 10 to 15 arguments, you tend to remember 5 to 7 arguments, and that has to be written in the examination. So don't be bothered by the fact that, "Arey ma'am, the answer is so long, how would we write or how would we manage in 250 words?" That's the target that you have to do. That if a detailed answer is provided as per your wish, whichever definition, whichever introduction, whichever conclusion suits your strengths, accordingly you have to incorporate. Is that very clear? Okay. Now, before I start with the session, what I am not thinking of doing today, because there have been too many sessions on YouTube, matlab there might be some of you with whom I'm interacting for the first time. So for those students, you can refer to the previous session on our YouTube channel where we have discussed how to approach Indian society, how one is supposed to prepare post-independence India. We have done enough of those sessions. Okay? You just have to go to Vision IS channel and you have to search for those videos. So I would not be delving into it again, because there might be many of you with whom I'm not interacting for the first time. So you know how I go about my areas. ठीक है, तो उतना आइडिया तो तुम लोग को हो गया है मेरे साथ चर्चा करते हुए. ठीक है, so that is one job that you have to do on your own. However, one thing is there which I want to emphasize upon again and again, and which I'll keep doing in every session, whether till the time each one of you out there is not serious about those strategies. The first and foremost thing is, please read your syllabus well. If you look at the nature of questions which have been asked this year, nothing has been asked beyond syllabus. हाँ, थोड़ा पूछने का तरीका, I'm so sorry for the Hindi, the slight way of asking the question might have underwent a change, right? But more or less the questions have been asked from the syllabus. So that is not a challenge. Now, you must be saying, Arey, how come ma'am is saying everything is asked from the syllabus? There was a question on cryptocurrency. There was a question on gig economy leading to women empowerment. They are not asked from the syllabus. That is the surprised element in the GS paper 1. So to that I will answer, ऐसा तो नहीं है ना, that if you have prepared cryptocurrency for your economy paper, which is going to happen on the next day, so on the very first day you will say, nahi, I remember cryptocurrency for economics point of view. I don't know the definition of cryptocurrency because today I am writing society paper. This would not happen, na. This much I can expect, no, that you have studied cryptocurrency for your current affairs, although you were expecting that question in economics. That is paper 3. However, they have asked it in paper 1. As simple as that. You have studied cryptocurrency because it was there in your current affairs. You have studied how it is going to impact global scenario, how it is going to impact Indian society, why the government is looking for strict regulation with respect to cryptocurrency. You have studied all of that from the perspective of economics paper. You just have to add 1 or 2 dimensions of society paper and the same answer could have been written in GS paper 1. So the first takeaway, UPSC is going to ask the questions which are interdisciplinary in nature. So do not have that expectation that it has to be a very watertight compartmentalization. No, I have blocked my mind. This has to be prepared for society. This has to be prepared for polity. This has to be prepared for economy. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है भाई. अगले दिन ही तो देना है एग्जाम. पहले दिन लिख दो cryptocurrency. Is that the point? ठीक है. Next, gig economy. अब ये तो you don't have to tell me that you haven't studied gig economy. Even if you've not written mains this year. Gig economy is the buzzword, yaar. So everybody is talking about gig economy. You have studied Code of Social Security 2020. We discussed that in our current affair classes where we did talk about how gig economy, what is gig economy, how platform workers have been incorporated. You know what is women empowerment. That is static. That too, I don't know. I think in every open session, I keep telling that women is the favorite subject of UPSC and you have to study what is women empowerment. So you know what is women empowerment. You just have to mind the content and you have to write how gig economy is creating opportunities for women empowerment. So ऐसा नहीं है that the questions were very difficult. The questions were absolutely not difficult. In fact, last year the paper was difficult. That I would agree that last year also and last year also there were certain questions which were analytical. But this year, The surprising element was that unexpected question came, but that unexpected question was only with respect to the paper in which the question has been asked. The nature of the question was neither difficult nor it was unexpected. Is that very clear? Okay. Then there was a question on tribals, and I sincerely remember that I think I was taking mains 365 class, and there we discussed that it's 25th year of PESA, and I mentioned in that lecture, I remember that, you know, since it's 25th year of PESA, they might not ask you PESA, but they might ask you something related to tribals. Okay. So we were expecting a question on tribals, so more or less that was an expected thing. However, the nature of the question which they asked was slightly different. This is one question where I can actually agree to the fact that maybe the students would not have been prepared from that mindset. Optional students agar anthro tha, socio tha, then you know the answer. But even if you didn't have these optionals, but slightly using current affair knowledge, some amount of answer could have been easily written. Because tribals you tend to study lot many times, whether it is polity, it is governance, it is security, it is society, it is post-independence, you tend to study tribals, right? So the nature of the question was slightly specific, but even then it could have been attempted because we were expecting a question on tribals. That's one thing. Is that very clear? Okay. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to take each and every question separately in detail. So what you need to keep in mind before we start with the discussion, I'll just take another 2 minutes of yours. I said that you have to go through your syllabus. The questions are often not asked beyond syllabus. So there has to be a proper deconstruction for which we have a separate video. You have to go refer that. That's one thing. Second very important aspect is you have to go through previous year questions. Now, if you see why are we conducting these sessions, there has to be a purpose. You can't just come, attend the session, have a nice time, understand the question and just walk away. You have to have a solid takeaway from these sessions. So from these sessions, you need to understand that what kind of questions are being asked and how you are supposed to orient yourself for the future preparation. So please make sure that not only these sessions, right from 2013, when the syllabus underwent a change, every subsequent year with respect to all the 4 GS papers, you have to solve the question. UPSC has a tendency, if not to repeat the question, they do repeat the theme. For example, last year in ethics paper, there was a question which was asked, and the question was about that how internet expansion has brought about changes in the value system, which is stark different from the traditional value system of India. This year, the question has been asked how India is able to maintain continuity with respect to their traditional social values. Are you getting the point? There has been certain amount of broad themes from which often the question is being asked. Thankfully, they didn't ask globalization's impact on culture because I was sincerely bored of answering the same question every year. So, but anyhow, this question which has been asked last year, it was there in ethics paper, slightly modified, but they were talking about that how traditional social values have underwent a change, and you would have written a counter argument that how still traditional social values are persisting. Yahan pe kya likhte? That how traditional values are still persisting, but there is certain element of values which have underwent a change. Did you get my point? So UPSC do have a tendency to repeat the broad themes. Ab is baar ka jo essay topic tha, hand that rock the cradle, rule the world, the same question UPSC, the same topic was asked in past, I think 2005 or 6, they have asked the same essay question. So the point which I'm trying to make here is, obviously you can't study 15-20 years, that's not possible. But then what is the basic minimum which can be done is from 2013 onwards, make sure that every year you are solving those past year questions. You will get a hang of the subject, you will get confidence. Psychologically, it would be very motivating. Is that clear? Because at the end of it, UPSC is very unpredictable. So they can ask you anything under the sun. This year, the paper is genuinely very easy. I mean, I don't know, but our optional paper, sociology, was quite easy. So I don't know about the other optional, but overall, barring essay paper, which was slightly challenging, rest of the paper more or less was manageable. Okay? But anyhow, can we start? Okay? So I hope you've understood this much. And last but not the least, practice answer writing. No amount of what we discuss today, it would not be fruitful, it would not give you the desired results if you are not practicing your answer writing. So your answer writing is a must thing. Ab suno, thodi si mehnat I have done, the remaining amount of efforts you have to put. I have tried to provide you my handwritten answers for the question so that it tends to stay with you. Obviously, it happens that after a month or a week, a week later, you would not remember anything which has been discussed in the class, right? So the point here is I'm providing you my handwritten answers only so that it remains with you. And whenever you are practicing your answer writing, try to incorporate those structures, try to incorporate those diagrams, try to incorporate those, representations so that you can enrich your answer. Because at the end of it, if you look at what is cryptocurrency, your answer, a definition can be different, but it would not make much of a difference. I mean, you would be, provided you're writing the right definition, so we would be scoring the similar marks. What is gig economy? You would be scoring the similar marks, right? What social values? थोड़ा बहुत content इधर उधर होगा. Presentation with respect to society paper, and when the questions are simple, presentation is the key. So you have to work on your presentation. You have to nail the challenge of writing these 10 markers, 15 markers within the stipulated time and space. In fact, if if you ask about my opinion about the paper which was being asked this year, I don't think the challenge was the nature of the question. I think the challenge was, one, we didn't expect that question in GS paper 1. I'm talking about society 1. Second thing, the nature of the question was not on a very regular line. So maybe mentally we were not prepared to answer those kind of questions. I'm talking about the tribal question. Okay, so that can be one of the point. And the third point is, since the question is not very difficult, so more or less each one of us will manage to answer something. Now it is all about the relative performance. The student who has written a more enriched answer, a better, coherent, well-structured, presentable answer will be fetching 1 or 2 odd marks more as compared to other co-aspirants, and that would be the deciding factor in your final result. So you have to work on your presentation. Is that clear? Okay. So a very famous saying says that if you want to bleed less in war, you need to sweat more in peace. So promise yourself from this coming attempt, if you are aiming this year's attempt, just make yourself a promise that you will go through previous year questions, whether mains, whether prelims. You are going to attempt for the mock test, whether prelims, whether mains, and depending upon the nature of your preparation, start your practicing the answer writing. So on this note, let's very quickly jump on to the questions that we have. The very first question that I'm going to discuss with you is, examine the role of gig economy in the process of empowerment of women in India. I just hope it is visible for everyone out there. Now, let me just tell you how I have thought of initiating this, that I am going to provide you different kind of introductions. Okay? So the very first introduction, the way of writing the introduction can be the definition. You can start with, what do you mean by gig economy? I have given 2 sets of definition. Whichever definition you are comfortable with, you can write the definition. For example, according to World Economic Forum, the characteristic feature of gig economy is its focus on workforce participation as well as income generation via gigs. And what do you mean by gigs? It is nothing but a single project or task for which a specific worker has been hired. That's one very brief definition which could have been written. Or you can go for a standard definition that according to World Economic Forum, gig economy, it involves the exchange of labor for money between individual or company via digital platform. It is actively facilitating a kind of matching between the providers and the customers on a short term or the payment by task basis. You don't have to write both the introductions, you just have to write one of the 2. That's one way of introducing the content. The second way of introducing the answer, by the way, I am assuming that we have understood the question. Examine the role of gig economy in the process of empowerment of women in India. I have identified the keywords here. What is the role of gig economy in ensuring empowerment of women? Where? India. And you have to examine this. Another way of introducing the content could have been the premise. you can have different ways of writing the introduction. So either the definition or the statistics or the premise. So the premise says that during 20th century, one of the turning point was that how women took the initiative. They clashed with the societal expectations and they had ventured outside the space of domestic sphere and they have found their way into the workforce. The similar turning point is being witnessed again today with the emergence of the gig economy, which has enabled women not only to bag jobs but to gain access to the workforce in the areas which are very specifically limited for men. For example, taxi driving. For example, freelancing with respect to website designing, etc. Is that clear? So this could have been the premise, that is the beginning of your answer. Totally your choice. I'm just giving you an idea. I'm not saying that you have to write the exact, but there are different ways of introducing the answer. Then lastly, you can also start with the statistics. For example, there was a study which was being conducted by I.W. Wage, which said Initiative for What Works to Advance Women and Girls in the Economy, which has observed there has been a gender dynamics in context of India's gig economy. And then you can talk about data, how women is taking initiative on the digital platform with respect to white collar workers, how according to a study which was conducted by Pioneer, it said that 1 out of 5 the freelancers in India are women, how it has found that female freelancers earning is 84% of that of men. So basically you don't have to write all the data, but yeah, at least 1 or 2 data could have been written in order to start the answer. So 1, we can go by the definition. 2nd, we can go by the premise. 3rd, we can go by the data. But there is one thing which I believe is very important, that is the linking statement. Okay. Now before I jump to the linking statement, why did I mention women empowerment here? You don't have to write because it's a 10-marker question. So women empowerment को लिखने का scope नहीं है, but you should know about women empowerment in your subconscious mind so that while you are writing the points that how gig economy is ensuring empowerment of women, you make sure that all these range of points are covered in that. Is that clear? So this is only for your reference. That is why I have written it with a separate color pen, that this is not supposed to be written in the answer. This has to be remembered according to your subconscious mind, which says that according to United Nations, women empowerment is a concept which has following dimensions: sense of self-worth, access to various resources, autonomy with respect to decision making, control over their life, and leadership quality. That is ability to influence the direction of social change. So that is nothing but empowerment of women. So while you are writing the points, this can be remembered in your subconscious mind. और इतनी बार तुम लोग women empowerment पढ़ लोगे, इतनी बार women पढ़ लोगे कि this would be like a easy cakewalk for you. Okay. Now, why did I mean linking statement? I think if you attended the previous sessions, you would get an idea that this is how we generally proceed. कि introduction के बाद when you have to move or make a transition to the body, एक linking statement that is very advisable. I'll tell you the reason. It gives you the clarity that how the remaining body of your answer has to be structured. It also gives an idea to the examiner that your answer is still relevant to the demand of the question. For example, read here. As gig economy is based or is flexible, temporary, and based on freelance job, it creates the potential to boost women employment as well as ensure her empowerment. So now I have linked gig economy with the empowerment of women. Is that clear? That was the main demand of the question. You start with the definition of gig economy or the premise or the statistics. The very next thing that you write, that since gig economy is flexible, temporary, and based on freelance job, it does create the potential to boost women employment and thereby ensuring her empowerment. How does it lead to women empowerment? Now the choice is completely yours. How do you intend to write the answer? Now, with respect to answer writing, we have often been asked certain questions. Ma'am, society is very subjective and analytical. Am I supposed to write in paragraph format or am I supposed to write in pointers? Totally your wish, yaar. But as a person who's been dealing with the subject over quite a number of years and have seen a lot of students clearing this exam, one thing I can say with confidence, there is nothing so special about paragraph writing. ठीक है, that you can limit it to the essay writing. As far as these GS questions are concerned, it doesn't matter whether it is society, whether it is analytical or a factual question. If you are comfortable in bullet points, just go for it. Because what I have observed in past 4-5 years by observing the topper script, the horizontal ambit coverage of the points should be very wide. Actually, अगर उनको बहुत analysis चाहिए होता, I'm so sorry for the Hindi again, if UPSC was actually looking for analysis, they would have asked you to write the answer in detail. In a 10-marker question or a 15-marker question, they don't want you to write 2-3 points and go into the depth. I don't think that is their objective. As far as we have tried to, look for the scripts of the toppers and try to identify that is there some commonality. Yes, there have been commonality, and if you really want to look for that presentation format on Vision IS platform, we have topper scripts. Okay, so just go through it. You will realize that what we are saying is absolutely correct. Okay, because yaar hame to pata nahi what UPSC is expecting. ऐसा तो है नहीं that I'm working with UPSC and I know this is what they are exactly looking for. हम कैसे पता लगाते? We based on our analysis that how previous toppers have been scoring, what kind of writing they are able to fetch marks and everything. So based on that, we can say that it is important that the horizontal coverage of the argument should be more comprehensive rather than picking up 2-3 arguments and going into detail. It seems very repetitive and a very monotonous kind of answer writing. Okay. Next thing is, try to break the monotony. Trust me, correcting 20 questions is a very tedious task. So it's always advisable, try to break the monotony. Try to incorporate flowcharts, try to incorporate hub and spoke model diagram, try to incorporate the tabular format in case there is some comparative analysis which is being asked. Totally your call. And if you're not comfortable, तो कोई hard and fast rule नहीं है. You can simply write in bullet points. Whichever thing or whichever format suits you, just go for it. ठीक है? How does it lead to women empowerment? First and foremost, flexible working condition is provided based on gig economy. As a result, it encourages women to seek career advancement. Second, with respect to gig economy and because of gig economy, there are more employment opportunities which are generated. As a result, it has resulted into increased female labor force participation. Third thing, part-time work and the flexible nature of working hours enables or ensures that women is able to proactively manage the dual burden. That is, she is able to work as well as she is able to take care of the household chores. I know a bell rings here that, ma'am, what kind of empowerment is this when women has to manage dual burden? I totally agree. Why women has to manage the dual burden? But see guys, it is the hard fact. It is the reality. The report says that 90% of the women are indulged in household chores which are unpaid, or the unpaid care work at the household sphere. They have to perform. They are performing. Now what happens is that if you have a regular employment and it is compromising on women's ability to manage domestic chores, तो ऐसा नहीं है that she is being asked not to perform domestic chores. She will be forced to give up on the career opportunities. That's the harsh reality of Indian society. So at least this gig economy, due to its flexible nature and part-time nature of the work, it provides the opportunity to the women to spur their career without compromising on the family time, academics or the recreational opportunities. Is this very clear? Okay. Then gig offers pay parity, and this is being observed by the women gig workers themselves. 86% of the female gig workers believe that the gig economy or the gig work is offering pay parity. Now see, with flexibility, with pay parity getting satiated, there is a very high degree of job satisfaction. Is this very clear? And further, this job satisfaction is aggravated, and it is aggravated why? Because you do get time. क्योंकि full time employment तो है नहीं. You are working as per your will. There is part-time nature of work, flexible nature of work. So you get enough time to further upgrade your existing skill set, which further generates or enhances the opportunity of employment in context of gig economy. Is that very clear? So it creates the potential for the empowerment of women. Okay. Then work from home nature of the job, it addresses the issue of safety and security. अब खुद सोचो, हमने कई बार क्लास में पढ़ा है और इन जनरल भी ओपन सेशंस में भी आई थिंक मैंने पढ़ाया ही है कि फीमेल लेबर फोर्स पार्टिसिपेशन ऑफ वुमेन इन जनरल क्यों डिक्लाइन कर रहा है. वन ऑफ द रीजन इज एक्सेसिबिलिटी टू द वर्क प्लेस, वन ऑफ द रीजन इज सेफ्टी एंड सिक्योरिटी. सो फॉर मेनी गिग वर्कर्स दिस वर्क फ्रॉम होम नेचर ऑफ द जॉब it addresses the problem of safety and security. Is that clear? Now with respect, one of the another reason why female labor force participation declines is because women, they withdraw themselves from the labor market. And why they withdraw themselves from the labor market? Because of the reproductive roles that women has to perform. तो आजकल एक नया buzzword आ गया है, that is mompreneurs. That is the young mothers are taking up the jobs. So in that context, they are not the income generation opportunities are there. At the same time, they are able to take care of the children. So overall, it's a win-win situation. And they are also not withdrawn from the labor market for a longer period of time. So the experience of work still remains. So there is a new term which is coming up, that is promoting entrepreneurship among young mothers. That is nothing but mompreneur. Is that very clear? So a greater financial freedom, income generation opportunities are there. Overall, gig economy is offering you paid work, extra income, less stress, boosting your confidence, decision making autonomy is there. Then obviously you can make decisions ना, नहीं काम करना जी, phone बंद करो, नहीं करना हमें. So you have the autonomy, you will decide whether you want to work or not. It is as per your own will. अब याद आया विमेन एम्पावरमेंट के वो डायमेंशंस क्यों जरूरी थे. दैट विल हेल्प यू टू अरेंज योर कंटेंट. Finally, it gives you a sense of development of self-identity. It improves the overall status of women in the society. However, every coin has two sides. So there is a flip side of gig economy. There are certain concerns, right? So obviously it's a 10-marker question. We don't expect you. Again, I'm putting a disclaimer. See, my job is there to give you a comprehensive coverage. नहीं तो फिर बोलोगे मैम ये सारे points तो पता थे, फिर what was the point of attending the session? So that's my job, right? I want to give you comprehensive analysis. We don't expect you to write every point. It is just a broad coverage. Whichever point is comfortable, you can borrow that. Is that clear? So the concerns. Concept of flexibility is not straightforward. Obviously, it has its own set of challenges. It disrupts the work-life balance, sleep patterns. The workers have to make themselves available all the time as per the availability of the gig work, irrespective of their other needs. You are always on the hunt for the next gig. There is a lot of uncertainty whether you will be getting next job or not. It might happen that for 2-3 days continuously or for even months also you don't have any job. So there is flexibility, but it comes with a certain cost. Although this point is not very specific to women workers, but then women is also part of gig economy now. So they are also influenced by these factors. Then next point, socio-cultural limitations and gender stereotyping. Even though we say that gig economy is gender inclusive, even though we say that pay parity exists, everything is there. At least it is better than the traditional work labor market. However, even in gig economy setup also, socio-cultural limitations and gender stereotypings are existing. How it has been seen, there is concentration of women gig workers in certain jobs. For example, the beauty related services, the wellness services, the cleaning or the care work, you will find over concentration of women in those sectors. Although you have seen that the incidences of women delivery person or the women drivers are emerging because of the affirmative action taken by the platforms like Swiggy or Uber, the trend is changing. But even then, the concern of safety of women, the concern of security of women, the concern of the women, you would not find them often in these jobs. Is that very clear? Then there was a research which was being done, and the survey research said that even in gig economy, there exists some amount of pay gap. Is that clear? Now, gig economy is being seeked through digital platforms. And we all know the status of digital infrastructure as well as accessibility, awareness, affordability, and the level of digital divide which is existing. So because of that digital market, the divide is often greater than the dividend it has to offer us. And where you can visualize that, gig economy largely is an urban phenomena, whereas majority of the women is residing in rural space. There is limited access of women even in urban areas to the digital services. There are many platforms which requires the workers to own asset. अब ये बताना पड़ेगा कि ownership of asset with respect to women in India is a challenge because of patriarchy and everything. Then only 21% of the women in India use mobile internet. Again, whichever point you are comfortable, बस 2-3 लिखना और आगे बढ़ जाना. Next, alienation of women workers because of lack of benefits. For example, maternity benefit hai, paid sick leave hai, minimum wages hai, etc. All of this is not being offered to the women gig workers. So because of that also there is certain amount of alienation of women workers. Next, because of COVID, which is still persisting. हमें लगा था 1 साल पढ़ लेंगे हो जाएगा, फिर अगले साल लगा चलो सेकेंड वेव आई, इस बार पढ़ लेते अब नहीं आएगा. Can't work. So yeah, COVID and looming uncertainties is still a problem because it is often the areas, the jobs where women were concentrated, those services has been suspended, and it had become really difficult for women to revamp themselves and to further gain access to the labor market. So many of the women has been withdrawn from the labor market. So that is one of the crisis. The second thing is the pressure and the ramification of the rating. अब ये तो आप सबने experience किया हुआ है. That see, for gig workers, how would you get access to the next gig? It will be based on your performance rating. So now they are in the need. There is a desperation with respect to improving their ratings, and in that context they are at the mercy of the customers. That again becomes very challenging. Not everyone gets access or experience good experience, or they have good interaction with the customers. Many a times customers can actually get onto your nerves. So yes, the pressure and the ramification of rating is another major problem. And then largely it is the major platforms, the digital platforms, they don't offer fair work contracts to these laborers. Although these 2 points are not specific to women, but they could have been incorporated in general also. Is that clear? So overall, what should be the conclusion? Despite limitation, gig economy has the potential to create gender parity in employment, as well as to ensure not only women empowerment but overall growth of the nation. ये डेटा मैंने सिर्फ आपको इसलिए दिया है that what if the question next time is not asked with respect to women empowerment but overall what could have been the prospect. तो in general one should know. अब suppose करो female labor force participation पे क्वेश्चन आ जाए, so there can be a data. अब कितनी बार तुम लोग को एक ही बात बताऊं, क्योंकि क्रिस्टीन लगार्ड ने कहा था if women labor force participation equals to that of men then GDP of India will increase by 27%. मैं पिछले 5 साल से एक ही बात कह रही हूँ, so I was bored of it. So this time there is a new data. So McKinsey Global Institute says that India's GDP will increase by $0.7 trillion if women labor force participation increases by 10% by 2025. So in general, I have given you this data. Hence, the need is to create a securer gig economy, provision of reskilling to ensure better absorption of women, and addressing the issues of digital illiteracy. Is that very clear? ये चाहो तो छोड़ भी सकते हो, but लिख लोगे तो अच्छा है, ठीक है? This data is only to help in general. It has nothing to do specifically with this question. Is that very clear for everyone? Can we proceed to the next question? Everyone out there, is this question clear? Did you understand? पहला question है, that is why I am taking in detail, because I would not be repeating this again, that why I have given you different set of introductions, there can be different types of conclusions, the diagram can be incorporated in the body, not everything has to be written, what is the importance of linking statement, I would not be repeating it again. पहला question है, that is why we took time. Is this clear for everyone? Can I proceed? ठीक है? Let's take the next question. What are the main socio-economic implications which are arising out of development of IT industries in major cities of India? I know. Just read the question first. Again, current affairs बोलना चाहो तो बोल दो मतलब, but इतना भी it is nothing current. You are studying urbanization, right? In society you have urbanization, problems associated and the remedies. And that's a part of it. ठीक है. If IT industries are developing in certain major cities, obviously there is skewed urbanization which is happening. So when you are talking about socio-economic implications in general, what can be the, suppose करो ये question नहीं पता था, जी हमको पता ही नहीं है, इतना तो पता है ना कि IT industries किस major cities में आ रही हैं, this much you know, ठीक है. That can be written as a part of linking statement or even the introduction. पहली चीज, what is the significance of IT industry, this much you know. It has a potential for prospering the economic growth and to generate millions of jobs. It can push us to come with at par with China. It can create positive socio-economic impact on the Indian citizens. ये कहानी तो गढ़ ही सकते हो ना, at least in the introduction. This much you can do. You have studied urbanization. You know what are the positive implications of urbanization, and you also know what are the social problems which are associated with urbanization in case it is rapid, it is over, it is skewed. Same question was asked in 2013. The question was, what are the social problems associated with rapid process of urbanization? अब बोलोगे मैम सेम कैसे है, तो भैया आईटी इंडस्ट्री अगर मेजर सिटीज में आ रही है, दैट मीन्स ना कि रैपिड ओवर स्क्यूड अर्बनाइजेशन इज हैपनिंग. रूरल एरिया से अर्बन एरिया में जाने को क्या कहते हैं, अर्बनाइजेशन कहते हैं. सो दिस मच तो यू अंडरस्टैंड ना. तो इतना कोई टेक्निकल था नहीं, तो बेसिकली थोड़ा इधर उधर एंड यू वुड हैव मैनेज्ड इट. ठीक है, चलो लेट्स स्टार्ट. Again, I've given you different introductions. देखो सिर्फ तुम लोग के future reference के लिए I've written it. You can introduce the answer with any one of these points. सारे नहीं लिखने बैठ जाना, ठीक है. This is what I was talking about अभी. What IT industry? You can start with the definition that IT industry covers IT services, IT enabled services, e-commerce, software, hardware products. In case you know specifically. In case you don't know, don't bother. You can start. IT industry's revenue is currently estimated to be $190 billion, which is growing at 7.7% on an year-on-year basis. By 2025, it is expected to reach $350 billion. You have created the prospect that why even at first place we are discussing IT industry. क्योंकि यहाँ पे सोशो इकोनॉमिक इम्प्लीकेशन, बाय द वे सोशल इकोनॉमिक इम्प्लीकेशन मीन्स सोशल एंड इकोनॉमिक इम्प्लीकेशंस. ठीक है. Now, you can also start as IT industry is the backbone for our economy to prosper exponentially and to generate millions of jobs. कोई एक लिखना है, again I'm repeating, सारे नहीं लिखने. Then finally you can talk about that how growth of IT industry will push us to grow at par with China. That's our target in every sector, improving the overall socio-economic status of Indians. You can write any introduction which you feel like. ठीक है. Linking statement. I'm actually concerned about linking statement more. So once you've started that IT industry का क्या prospect है, why are we even studying that, what is the data, whichever way you've started, then you can write IT industries क्योंकि relevance establish करनी है with the nature of the question. So IT industries is fastest growing in metropolitan cities. कोई चाहता तो इंडिया का छोटा सा मैप बना के वो मेजर सिटीज भी उसमें दिखा सकते हो, तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. दे वेटिंग फॉर योर मैप, और इट्स जस्ट दैट कि थोड़ी क्रिएटिविटी दिखने लग जाती है, बस और कुछ नहीं है. मोनोटनी ब्रेक हो जाती है, तो वो भी कर सकते हो. So growing metropolitan cities like Bangalore, Delhi, NCR, Hyderabad, Pune, Mumbai, etc. due to availability of skilled labor, ready market for high-tech industry, leisure facility, government supports like technology park and everything. However, this is the main thing. यहाँ पर एक्सेट्रा तक भी छोड़ सकते थे, जरूरी नहीं था ये भी लिखो एज एन अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ स्किल्ड लेबर वगैरह. दैट इज फॉर योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग. यू कुड हैव leave it also. That's totally your choice. This statement is important. However, the skewed concentration of IT industry in major cities have several socio-economic implications. I have not written positive or negative. I have written open-ended socio-economic implication. Now our job is to discuss the positive implication as well as the negative implication. Is this very clear for everyone? So can we look at the question now? See very quickly. What are the positive implications? Again, it's a detailed thing, your choice. दो तीन तो नहीं, हाँ 4-5 points लिख देना हो जाएगा. You can start with, it has created the opportunity for employment generation. For example, directly 4 million jobs and indirect employment to 10 million workers. For example, TCS has generated 4 lakh jobs. This is very specific. If you don't remember, doesn't matter. Overall, if you don't remember the data also doesn't matter. Employment generation लिख देना. Next, it gives boost to the social infrastructure. For example, health, education. कैसे? This IT industry, it makes medical treatment become more accessible, qualitative, safety, affordable. For example, the concept of telemedicine. Similarly, because of the development of information technology, it has also propagated and promoted e-learning in context of these major cities. It has become, or it has come in vogue, and with e-learning, the education has become more customized, it has become more personalized, it has become more multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary. So overall, the learning outcome, overall the quality of the education has further improved. So yes, it has given boost to social infrastructure. Overall, with the emergence of IT industry in these major cities, the overall governance has improved. The quality of life has improved. Why? Because now you have access to services and information in a very easy manner, and it is inexpensive in nature. Similarly, if those IT industries are developing in certain cities, obviously people having skills and they are looking for better opportunity are moving to that area. From every corner of India, they are moving to that place. So in that place, there is cultural diversity which is emerging, cosmopolitan culture which is emerging, and since you are dependent on each other, ये पढ़ते हैं ना हम लोग कि विद जैसे जैसे सोसाइटी इवॉल्व करती है, प्रोग्रेस करती है, डिविजन ऑफ लेबर कॉम्प्लेक्स होता जाता है, इंटरडिपेंडेंस बढ़ जाती है. सो नाउ पीपल ऑफ डिफरेंट कल्चर, डिफरेंट सोशल कल्चरल बैकग्राउंड्स, दे आर कमिंग टुगेदर, दे आर वर्किंग टुगेदर, लीडिंग टू डेवलपमेंट ऑफ कॉस्मोपॉलिटन कल्चर. इट टेंड्स टू डेवलप सोशल टॉलरेंस in the society. Is that very clear? Then it has also, obviously, with IT industry, it has good pay package. Okay, so there is a development or a rise of new middle class. See, middle class is often known by their educational and technical proficiency, the educational qualification and technical proficiency. With this IT industry spur, it has resulted into rise of new middle class. Now, when this new middle class is emerging, obviously you have money at your disposal, so you tend to outsource certain jobs. For example, domestic helpers, for example, driver, for example, carpenter, for example, tailor. जो काम शायद आप घर के पहले खुद कर सकते थे या गाड़ी आप खुद ड्राइव कर सकते थे, अब पैसा है अगले बंदे के पास, वो भी सोच रहा है कि why should I waste my energy, I should invest my energy on earning more money, and whatsoever can be the reason. Now people have started outsourcing the jobs. Now because of that outsourcing of jobs, it creates opportunity even for the unskilled or semi-skilled workers. Then next thing, if you have heard of this concept of social capital, socio-economic implication है ना, तो social capital जो होता है, it is the opportunity of capital generation through networking, right? So that is why it is known as social capital. So when you are moving to certain cities, obviously the population is dense there, the interaction has increased among the people, it is leading to development of social relations, that is nothing but strengthening of the social capital. Is that clear? ये मैंने सिर्फ एक आइडिया के लिए लिखा था कि it is often been said, एक report आई थी which said that cities are the highest pinnacle of human creation. It provides you the source for social mobility. Is that clear? So that's just for the information. Main point ये है. Then obviously in the IT industry there is new work culture which is emerging, that is work from home culture, which has further created opportunity for financial independence of women as well as empowerment of women. Is this clear? And finally, खुद सोचो, when too many people are moving to a certain place, there is demand for jobs, they are looking for jobs and they are getting high paid jobs, so they would be looking for homes. Now the supply of homes, real estate is limited, but the demand is very high. As a result, real estate market skyrockets. It creates the market for rental housing, it creates the market for PG industry. तो भाई economic implication तो है ना आपके मेजर सिटीज में जहां पे आईटी इंडस्ट्री डेवलप हो रही है. इज दिस क्लियर? हाउएवर, इट हैज इट शेयर ऑफ नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट अनबैलेंस्ड ग्रोथ. अब ऑब्वियस है ना यार, अब सही से बताना, वट एवर पॉइंट्स वी हैव डिस्कस सो फार, ऐसा तो नहीं था यू कुड नॉट हैव थॉट अबाउट दोज पॉइंट्स. हाँ, इट माइट हैव हैपेंड दैट डेटा स्पेसिफिक नहीं होता आपके पास, सो दैट्स ओके, दैट्स एब्सोल्युटली नो इश्यूज. ठीक है, तो अगर डेटा नहीं भी था, so overall arguments you could have easily written. Unbalanced growth, skewed development of IT industry. So obviously it is leading to, it is aggravating the regional disparities. Then I've already told you, you've studied urbanization issues, right? So with respect to over skewed rapid urbanization, there are several problems which are emerging. Slum proliferation, right? There is problem with respect to congestion of traffic. There is problem with respect to physical infrastructure like sanitation, hygiene, waste disposal. All of that problem is emerging. Again, socio-economic implication hai. Then son of soil politics. इनफैक्ट रीजनल पार्टीज तो थ्राइव ही इस बात पे करती हैं दैट यू नो माइग्रेंट पॉपुलेशन इज कमिंग, फॉर एग्जांपल मुंबई, तो वहां पे सन ऑफ सॉइल पॉलिटिक्स कैसे होती है, बैंगलोर सन ऑफ सॉइल पॉलिटिक्स कैसे हो रही है, द पीपल फ्रॉम आउटसाइड आर कमिंग, ठीक है, एंड दे आर गेटिंग एक्सेस टू दीज हाई पेड IT job opportunities, so because of which there is discrepancy with respect to demand and supply as far as resources are concerned. So son of soil politics. Then the problem of ghettoization. Ghettoization is nothing but slum proliferation. Ghetto का मतलब होता है that you create your own small society or a cocoon within the larger society based on certain uniformed aspects, जैसे कि slums based on economic criteria, income criteria, that is a ghetto. या फिर आपने देखा होगा cities में या दिल्ली में ही अगर हम बात करें, जैसे नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न स्टूडेंट्स हैं, you would find them more in नॉर्थ दिल्ली एरिया, इंद्र विहार जो एरिया है वहाँ पे आपको मिलेंगे, या फिर जो अफ्रीकन स्टूडेंट्स हैं you will find them more in context of साउथ दिल्ली, और for that matter बंगाली people वो CR पार्क. So that is nothing but ghettos, ठीक है. So ghettoization, racial intolerance, xenophobia, these are nothing but social implications, ठीक है. Then most importantly, अगर IT इंडस्ट्री कहीं डेवलप हो रही है, you are moving away, you are migrating, you are moving away from your families, so there is disintegration of joint family. Now in these IT sector, both husband and wife are working, there is emergence of dual career family, the stress is increasing, you have to meet up the expectations of the companies. ऐसा नहीं है कि कंपनी एवं ही पैसा देता है, काम भी निकालता है, तो बहुत स्ट्रेस होता है टारगेट वगैरह को मीट करने के लिए. आई थिंक यू नो गाइज नो इट बेटर बिकॉज मेनी ऑफ यू माइट बी वर्किंग इन IT इंडस्ट्री. मैं तो ऐसे ही बोल रही हूँ, बट because I'm not working in IT industry, but still I've seen my friends, there's a lot of pressure, ठीक है. So yeah, increased stress है, disruption of marital relationship है, attention deficit है with respect to children, so all of that is there. और ये मैंने ऐसे ही लिख दिया, overloaded electric circuit, ये basically sociology का concept है, आप छोड़ सकते हो, but overall it means the same thing, ठीक है. Then IT sector is an island of high income. So obviously increased inequality है. अब IT professionals they are earning very good, but ऐसा थोड़ी ना है कि in these major cities where IT industries have developed it consists of only IT professionals. ऐसा तो नहीं है ना, other people are also staying. So IT sector is an island of high income because of which the inequalities are increasing, because of which the feeling of relative deprivation is very prominent. और जहाँ पे भी relative deprivation होता है, that's my favorite concept, वहाँ पे crime होता ही होता है. Favorite इसलिए क्योंकि बहुत relevant है. So there is feeling of relative deprivation which often results into conflicts and crime. Then IT इंडस्ट्री ने जहां हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को बूस्ट किया है, वहीं सेम IT इंडस्ट्री हैव नेगेटिवली इंपैक्टेड द हेल्थ ऑफ द IT प्रोफेशनल. सेडेंट्री लाइफस्टाइल है, यू आर वर्किंग फॉर आवर्स इन फ्रंट ऑफ द लैपटॉप, सो ऑब्वियसली इट इज वेरी डेट्रीमेंटल. सो द टेंडेंसी ऑफ कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग लाइफस्टाइल डिजीजेस इज वेरी हाई. Then increased incidences of cyber crimes that can also be written because of the development of IT industry. Then obviously security challenges हैं, late night work culture है, rise in affluency है, तो theft, eve teasing के cases भी are increasing. That is one thing which is a syndrome that is nothing but a building syndrome which says that IT professionals, अब तो खैर work from home हो गया, but largely IT professionals are working in those glass offices, so there is a glass facade with a central cooling system, so it is believed they are contracting a lot of respiratory diseases because of the cross infection which happens क्योंकि proper ventilation नहीं होता है. So उसके लिए the respiratory problem, the sickness is known as building syndrome. ये एक बहुत specific example है, लिखने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. वो कहते हैं ना कुछ add करना होता है, some take away from the answer, तो वही है. Overall, what should be the conclusion? IT industry has been instrumental in transforming Indian economics and governance landscape. It is further gaining footstep in new technology and will play a leading role in fourth industrial revolution. However, to reap the dividend, the negative implication needs to be addressed. क्योंकि solution मांगा ही नहीं है, तो हम इतना detail में नहीं लिखेंगे. But you have to mention that IT industry does have a potential. However, the skewed development of IT industry definitely has certain negative ramification. So those negative implication needs to be addressed. अब वो लिखने मत बैठ जाना, otherwise आंसर बहुत बड़ा हो जाएगा. ठीक है? Is this clear? ठीक है? Can we proceed to the next question? Let's see. How does Indian society maintain continuity in traditional social values? Enumerate the changes taking place in it. तो आपको ये भी बताना है that how or what kind of changes are witnessed in the value system, and how even today, despite so many forces of change which has been introduced, Indian society still is managing to continue with the traditional social values. Okay, so you can start in the introduction that what has been the traditional social values, and trust me, this is the topic from salient features of Indian society. Salient feature of Indian society में एक salient feature होता है that Indian society का एक salient feature है coexistence of change and continuity. That is coexistence of tradition with modern value system. So modernity has not completely replaced the traditional social values. There are certain traditional social values which have underwent a change. However, there are certain traditional values which are still continuing. So that is one of the salient feature of Indian society. And I remember मैं कल ही पढ़ा रही थी किसी foundation batch में the first class, and we have discussed what are the traditional social values of Indian society, how it was expected that under forces of change it has underwent a change, however they are still continuing. ठीक है, तो if you remember, let's forget कल क्या पढ़ा था हमने. If you remember, आप क्या क्या पढ़ते हो? Joint family पढ़ते हो. Joint family has undergone a change, but still certain elements are still being observed. You have studied about caste, you have studied about religion, you have studied about secularism, so you have studied about role of social media, so you know that how certain traditional values have underwent a change, however still there are certain values which are continuing. Now here the question is not why they are continuing. The question here is not what values are continuing. Here the question is how Indian society manages to ensure continuity. तो यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा challenge है. Where the values are continuing, why they are continuing, that is not the question. How they are continuing, that is the question. So this can be a problem कि किसी ने लिखते वक्त शायद ये गलती कर दी हो तो कर दी हो. और बाय द वे अगर कर भी दी है और मेंस लिख चुके हो तो प्लीज सब्जेक्टिविटी है, क्या पता मार्क्स मिल जाए, तो उसके लिए बॉदर नहीं करना. प्लीज डोंट बॉदर योरसेल्फ. ठीक है यार, देखो, टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, ऐसा नहीं है कि आई एम अननेसेसरली गिविंग यू होप्स और समथिंग लाइक दैट, बट ट्रस्ट मी, यहाँ आके एनालिसिस करना इज ऑल टुगेदर अ डिफरेंट स्टोरी. हम आराम से अपना टाइम लेते हैं, डिटेल में आंसर बना रहे हैं, बट आप पे बहुत प्रेशर होता है भाई. वो बात अलग है, मुझ पे भी बहुत प्रेशर है. आई हैव टू मीट योर एक्सपेक्टेशन, बट देन आर प्रेशर इज वेरी डिफरेंट. ओके, आई नो लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स आर एट स्टेक, सो जस्ट चिल. वट एवर यू हैव रिटन इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट, ट्रस्ट मी. So let's continue. Social values which have been the part of traditional Indian value system, क्या क्या है यार, सबको पता है. traditional social values, tolerance, spiritualism, ritual hierarchy, particularism or strong religious orientation, family obligation, collectivism, cooperation, ये सब क्या है? This is nothing but the traditional social values. Non-violence, truth, all of that is nothing but the traditional social values of Indian society, right? Now in the linking statement you could have written that since over the period of time no society remains static for all time to come. It definitely undergoes a change with respect to its structure and culture. Value system becomes the part of the culture, so it undergoes a change. Now under the spell or under the forces of modernization, the traditional social values of India has underwent a process of change, yet it has been able to ensure continuity. So this is the linking statement. चाहो तो ये छोड़ सकते हो, no society remains static, इसको conclusion में लिख सकते हो. You can start with over a period of time, under the forces of modernization, the Indian social values, traditional values have underwent a process of change. Despite that, it has able to maintain the continuity. Now with respect to continuity, this is only for your reference. This paragraph is not supposed to be written in the answer. Why? This is the main answer, that how Indian society is able to ensure continuity in the traditional social value. ये मैंने क्यों, क्योंकि मैं लिखते वक्त ना एक continuity बना रही थी, इसलिए मैंने लिख दिया था कि कहाँ पे आपको continuity देखने को मिलती है. ठीक है, थोड़ा इजी हो जाता है टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज द डिमांड ऑफ द क्वेश्चन. तो कहाँ पे हमको कंटिन्यूटी देखने को मिलती है? जैसे कास्ट सिस्टम है, देर हैज़ बीन फोर्सेज ऑफ चेंज, भाई रोल ऑफ स्टेट आ गया, इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन आ गई, अर्बनाइजेशन आ गई, तो कास्ट सिस्टम हैज़ अंडरवेंट अ चेंज, दैट्स फॉर श्योर. बट अभी भी द कास्ट related values with respect to, for let us say, endogamy is still being practiced. ठीक है. Similarly, marriage, the rituals associated with marriage is still being observed. Similarly, family system, आज भी the concept of karta of the house or the families performing those rituals together, for example periodic propitiation of the dead ancestors, all of that आज भी होता है. तो familial obligations are still relevant. The sacredness of marriage, the rituals which are being performed with respect to marriage is still being observed. The caste system में continuity with respect to its value system is still being observed, right? So ऐसा नहीं है कि continuity नहीं है. But now the question, the main question arises that how we are able to maintain the continuity. So the question is not where and why, it is how. That has to be focused upon. So the first thing is how we are able to maintain the continuity. It is through the process of socialization, as in obviously the institution of families. आपको आपकी value system कौन बताता है for the very first time? Your family members. You have to touch the feet of the elders. That's a social norm in the society. You have to respect your elders. Then your career, your individualism should not be there. First, you should think about the welfare or the collective interest of the family. Then you should think about your own personal vested interest. Who teaches you these values? Honesty, okay? Truth, you know, collective orientation, cooperation, familial obedience. Who teaches this? Family. And how they teaches this? The concept is known as socialization. अब ये मत बोलना ये टेक्निकल शब्द है, एथिक्स का सिलेबस है ये, रोल ऑफ सोशलाइजेशन, ठीक है. So socialization through institution of family, traditional values are passed from one generation to another. Next is societal compulsions. बहुत बार traditional social values tend to continue because there is societal compulsion. There is a fear of reward and punishment. So the people, they tend to obey the traditional social value, they tend to follow, they tend to preserve the traditional social values because of the system of reward and punishment associated with it. Is that clear? So traditional social values also continues because of the societal compulsions. Then celebration of fair, festivals, they also reinforces traditional values. Then migration, spread of rural tradition to cities. ऐसा तो है नहीं कि आप migrate कर गए तो अपना tradition छोड़ कर आ गए, ऐसा तो नहीं होता है ना. There, I was about to give an example. You can take a person out of Bihar, but you cannot take a Bihar out of that person. It is not specific to Bihar. ये कहीं मैंने पढ़ा था इसलिए, that is why I'm making this statement. Otherwise, what I'm actually trying to tell you here is, अरे यार seriously नहीं लेना. It's not very specific to Bihar. I'm generally saying, ऐसा तो नहीं है ना that if you have moved outside a particular space, so your culture would definitely come to an end. ऐसा नहीं होगा, ठीक है ना? So the culture still continues. So the spread of rural tradition to cities. Then social media, significant role in preserving and revival of traditional value system. जहाँ एक तरफ social media has resulted into emergence of new modern value system, it has also posed challenges for the traditional values. The same social media, if is used, it can have or it has played role in preserving, perpetuating, promoting the traditional social values. Similarly, constitutional provisions with respect to right to religion, with respect to protection of traditional culture. What is your Article 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30? They are nothing but the constitutional provision which helps in ensuring continuity in the traditional social values. Then identity politics, reservation, it has also enabled continuity in the value system based on caste. However, social now you don't have to write everything, but इतना ही points हैं यार, मतलब कुछ बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं लिखे हैं, तो इतना तो हम लिख ही सकते हैं मतलब. However, social values are changing under the influence of technological, political, economic forces. Now, what are the changes? क्योंकि उन्होंने clearly लिखा है ना, enumerate करो change, यही लिखा है ना, enumerate the changes. तो बताओ तो क्या change हो रहा है? यहाँ पे you have to enumerate. And I still remember, if you've seen my last year's session, तो वो जो digital वाला question नहीं था ethics में, that how the IT penetration has led to the change in the value system, उसका first part यही था. Answer remains the same. I told you ना कहीं previous year से you get an idea what kind of questions can be asked. So yeah, substantial shift towards consumerism, materialism with the emergence of social media platform, with emergence of online shopping sites and everything because of globalization. So what has happened? यही तो पूछा ना, influence of technological, political, economic forces में how the value system is changing. So traditional values क्या थी? Minimalism, non-ostentation. Now what is the value system? Consumerism, materialism. Traditional value system क्या था? Collectivism, cooperation. With disintegration of joint family, emergence of nuclear family, now the new value system is individualism, fulfillment of vested interest as against the collective interest. पहले वैल्यू सिस्टम क्या था, दैट रिचुअल बेसिस ऑफ हायरार्की होती थी, योर स्टेटस वाज डिटरमाइंड बाय द रिचुअल क्राइटेरिया, द एस्क्रिप्टिव क्राइटेरिया, योर कास्ट, योर जेंडर, योर एथनिसिटी. बट नाउ विद इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन, विद डेवलपमेंट ऑफ कास्ट न्यूट्रल जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज, नाउ social inequalities or the stratification in the society is determined by the individual achievements. What is your education, how much economic clout you have, what is the status of political power. So now the ritual basis of hierarchy has been replaced by secular basis. So yes, it has underwent a change. You have to enumerate, example dena hai. Then modern education system has led to the emergence of rationality. It has led to the emergence of scientific temper. It has led to the emergence of secular education as against the strong religious orientation. Clear hai? Then there is decline in tolerance. Tolerance हमारा traditional value थी, but now there is a rising trend of intolerance. Then modernization. Modernization has also resulted into development of a new set of value system like egalitarianism, universalism. हमारी traditional value system क्या था? Particularism. You show me the man, I show you the rule. ऐसे ही था ना, nepotism वगैरह एग्जिस्ट करता था. सो पर्टिकुलरिस्टिक वैल्यू सिस्टम था. विथ मॉडर्नाइजेशन देयर इज एमर्जेंस ऑफ यूनिवर्सलिज्म. एवरीबडी इज इक्वली सब्जेक्टेड टू लॉज. ठीक है. सो मॉडर्नाइजेशन हैज ऑल्सो इन्फ्यूज्ड मेनी मॉडर्न वैल्यू सिस्टम. देन देयर हैव बीन एमर्जेंस ऑफ प्रोग्रेसिव वैल्यू सिस्टम सच एज जेंडर equality. Now the status of women is undergoing a change. We are not saying that complete women empowerment has happened or gender equality has been ensured, but at least it has emerged in the context of Indian society. Is that very clear? Again, this is not a sacrosanct list. You can add any which number of points that you have to write. For example, joint family के context में भी बात कर सकते हो, marriage के भी context में बात कर सकते हो, that how marriage में secularization is happening. Initially, the value system related to marriage was that of sacred, universal nature of marriage. 7 जन्मों का रिश्ता, नहीं 7 जन्म मत लिखना, but I'm generally saying that this was the value system associated with marriage. But now marriage is more about companionship. Marriage is more about whether you can stay together, confluent marriages. The value system has underwent a change. There is a statement, love until further notice. This is the new value system which is emerging with respect to marriage. So obviously it is undergoing a change. Is that clear? So then you can conclude that Indian society is an evolving entity despite changes introduced by the forces of modernization, that there are certain traditional social values which has shown resilience and they continue to assert their significance even today. Is this very clear for everyone? ठीक है. It's an easy question, trust me, it's not difficult. ठीक है. Salient feature है, direct syllabus से topic है. Next. Okay, again, one thing about this particular question that we are going to discuss now, it is with respect to the objectives of population education and what efforts the government of India has taken in order to implement that. The thing is that we were expecting a question. There is a topic in your syllabus that is population and associated issues. And when you study population and associated issues, you do tend to study the debate with respect to high population. You tend to study that what is fertility, mortality, what is concept of demography, different types of demography. At least this is what we discussed in the class. Okay? So you tend to study what is demographic dividend and everything. Okay? Then you study the population changes which are happening. So what are the factors which determines the change in population? For example, fertility, for example, mortality, for example, migration. Then you study population policy. Okay? That how it has evolved over a period of time, how it has failed to give the desired result. Then you study how after 2000 there have not been a single national population policy. It's been 21 years. There is a need for a new population policy. Then UP में the population control policy has been there. Then obviously incentivization of 2-child norm which has been introduced. So at UP level. So obviously it was in current affairs as well. So it is a part of your static area also. It is a part of your current affairs. But then there is a catch. Obviously population education. It's a specific concept, right? And they have specifically asked you the objectives. So there are many of us who might not have studied it specifically कि भाई population इतना detail में कोई नहीं पढ़ता है, ठीक है? But ये था कि question expected था. But obviously we were not expecting that इतना detail में they would have asked. Even then, let us suppose you are confronted by this challenge that exactly you don't know what is supposed to be written. But if you break the term, it is about the education regarding the population. ठीक है. Now in context of India, it is being asked that what are the objectives of population education. Do you understand that every country, every society, every community had different problems associated with their population, right? So obviously population education cannot have the same objective across the society. So it determines, it is based on the nature of the nation, country, or the problems which are there. You know what is the problem in context of India. The debate is very old, that is population growth. Okay. So if I have to educate you with respect to population, what am I trying to do? I am trying to make you understand about the nature and the meaning of this population process, characteristic of the population, causes why population is undergoing a change, and how these factors, as in the process, the characteristic, the changes which are happening, how it is influencing me as an individual, how it is influencing my family, how it is influencing my nation, how it is influencing my world. Simple. ठीक है. So let us forget, थोड़ा सा academic हो गया, इसको भी छोड़ो. If I have to educate you with respect to population, what am I trying to do? I am trying to develop a very responsible attitude. मैं आपको educate ही क्यों कर रही हूँ? Population छोड़ो. If I'm educating you with respect to anything, why am I educating you? Because I want you to develop a very rational attitude, a very responsible attitude. I want to generate awareness among you with respect to that concept. So here the concept is population. So with respect to demographic situation, demographic is nothing but characteristic of population, demo plus graphy. So with respect to demographic situation, I am trying to instill among the students, among the learners, among the students, a very responsible, very rational attitude towards these situations. As simple as that. ठीक है. अब सपोज करो हमें इस क्वेश्चन में लिखना है ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ पॉपुलेशन एजुकेशन. आपने स्पेसिफिकली नहीं पढ़ रखा. आपको ये तो पता है कि आपके यहाँ की पॉपुलेशन की प्रॉब्लम क्या है? रैपिडली ग्रो कर रही है. It obviously अब it has started declining because many of the states have achieved that replacement level and they have gone beyond, मतलब reduction हो गया है fertility rate में even below the replacement level. So that's a different story. But even then, अभी तक what has been the problem? Rapid growth of population. We know another important aspect is the evil impact. हम यही तो बात करते हैं ना, how this rapid growth of population is going to influence different aspects of our life, whether social, political, cultural, how it is going to pose a challenge for the limited resources which are there. ठीक है, how it is going to create social problems, how you need to understand the evil impact of this high population growth on the environment, how the population growth is going to impact your standard of living, how it is going to impact the quality of life, how I want you to understand that see, so small family is desirable, it is going to ensure the health of your family members, the welfare of your family members, it will ensure economic stability. यही तो काम है, यही तो आप करोगे ना. आप छोड़ो आपने पॉपुलेशन एजुकेशन नहीं पढ़ा, बट आपको ये तो पता है ना कि पॉपुलेशन एजुकेशन का क्या प्रॉब्लम है, व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम विद रिस्पेक्ट टू पॉपुलेशन एंड व्हाट वुड बी द ऑब्जेक्टिव इफ आई एम गोइंग टू एजुकेट यू विद रिस्पेक्ट टू पॉपुलेशन. यही तो मैं आपको बताऊंगी ना कि भाई पॉपुलेशन ग्रो हो रही है, दैट इज पोजिंग अ चैलेंज टू योर स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग एंड क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ. इट इज पोजिंग अ चैलेंज फॉर एन इंडिविजुअल, फॉर द सोसाइटी, फॉर द नेशन. इट इज क्रिएटिंग अनड्यू प्रेशर ऑन द लिमिटेड रिसोर्सेज. इट इज नेगेटिवली impacting your environment. I want to generate awareness among you with respect to the population policies. I want to empower my learners to make informed choices with respect to their reproductive health. मैं यही करना चाहूंगी ना, यही ऑब्जेक्टिव है ना, ये तो हम पढ़ते हैं. What are the main objectives of population education and point out the measures to achieve them in India in detail. So introduction, you start with the population education, any one of the definition which you are comfortable with. The one which I quoted was Stephen Wederman ka definition, that the process by which the student investigate and explore the nature and meaning of population process, characteristic, causes of population change, consequences of these process, characteristic and changes on individual, family, society and the world. Similarly, the purpose of population education according to UNESCO is to develop among students a rational, responsible attitude towards demographic situation. Or it can be referred as an educational program which provides for a study of population situation of family, community, nation and the world. Whichever suits you, you can start. linking statement, why it is important to study population education. I have written it detail, आप बस एक लाइन में लिख सकते हो. As increasing population has continued to affect the quality of life, whether it is deficiency with respect to resources, inadequate facilities with respect to social infrastructure, social problem, environmental issues, it was observed only population education can provide lasting solutions to these problems. Is that clear? So this adds the linking statement that why are you even discussing this? Is this very clear? Is it making sense for everyone out there? I think it's a 15-marker question. So yeah, you have enough scope to write. So linking statement की बात करें, so you can talk about how the increased population is posing different types of social, political, environmental restrictions. Hence, only population education can provide the lasting solutions to these problems. So what are the objectives? अब ये objectives डिटेल में हैं और एक्चुअली यही objectives हैं जो अभी हम बात कर रहे थे. हमने ये बोला था ना, rapid growth of population and its causes. What is the influence of these population trends on different aspects? Evil effect of overpopulation on environment. The role or the relation between population growth and development process. How small families is desirable. How it is a matter of choice. How the health welfare is ensured by small families, how to generate awareness with respect to population policies, empowering the learners to take informed decisions, how action of one individual, you need to make them realize, bhai, aapka ek individual action is impacting others, and overall the family size is not only impacting your nation, but overall it is having an impact or the consequences for the whole world. ये आपके objectives हैं. अगर आपको एग्जैक्टली नहीं भी पता था, जस्ट बेस्ड ऑन योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग दैट व्हाट आर द प्रॉब्लम्स एसोसिएटेड विद पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ इन इंडिया और व्हाट इज द मेजर प्रॉब्लम एसोसिएटेड विद पॉपुलेशन, यू कुड हैव रिटन एटलीस्ट सम ऑफ देम. इसीलिए डू नॉट बी वेरी स्टबर्न. You must be thinking, ये stubborn कहाँ से आ गया? I'll tell you. We have a tendency, at least I had the tendency and I had paid a price for this, and that is why I didn't clear the exam, that if I don't know something, if I didn't know something, क्योंकि past की बात है, so I had this habit that I used to develop that inertia that I can't write because I have not studied it. I can't write this possible answer because I am not aware of it. Since it's a very factual question, no objective of population education, मुझे नहीं पता, तो मैं ना freeze कर जाती थी, मैं लिख नहीं पाती थी. And I have paid a price for it because as far as UPSC is concerned, it is an established fact that you would not get exact questions that you are prepared for. There would be some variation. In that situation, your observation, your previous acquiring of the knowledge, your presence of mind makes a significant difference. Do you really think this exam is about what kind of content you are writing? Only to a certain extent. After that, how you have managed yourself well under the pressure, how you are able to contextually write relevant answers, how you are able to at least complete the paper, how you have nailed those questions which you were prepared for, and how you have managed those questions which you were not prepared for. All of this is actually acting as the deciding factor. It is not just about the content, the theoretical content that you have studied. So please take that or keep that in mind. Always be prepared. Just open your thought process for those particular hours in which you are attempting the question paper. This is just for your understanding. This has nothing to do, ये मैं आपको वही समझा रही थी कि ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ पॉपुलेशन एजुकेशन वेरी करता है. सो अ कंट्री लाइक इंडिया जहाँ पे पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ इज ऑलवेज पोजिंग अ चैलेंज, द एम ऑफ पॉपुलेशन एजुकेशन शुड बी टू इनेबल स्टूडेंट्स टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट फैमिली साइज इज कंट्रोलेबल, population limitation can facilitate development of quality of life of nation also, and as well as individual family also. And most importantly, if your family is small and compact, it will ensure better health, welfare, economic stability and better prospect for the younger generation. I have clearly written it is for your overall understanding. तो अभी भी चॉइस है, क्योंकि क्वेश्चन बहुत स्पेसिफिकली पूछ रहा था ऑब्जेक्टिव, तो ये स्पेसिफिक ऑब्जेक्टिव्स हैं. अगर ये भी लिख देते तो भी हो जाएगा, क्योंकि मोर और लेस इट इज सेइंग द सेम थिंग. नाउ this is again for your reference. Time and again we have talked about how in context of India, lot of efforts were taken in the post-independence phase in order to address the problem of rapid population growth. ठीक है. एंड आई थिंक आई हैव डिस्कस्ड इन मेनी ऑफ द क्लासेस अबाउट द एवोल्यूशन ऑफ पॉपुलेशन प्रोग्राम्स. So it all started that how prior to independence policy of indifference was followed. Then it was the initial 5 years 47 to 51 policy of or the period of neutrality se kehte the. The reason being was that Indian governance was confronted with other major challenges, integration of princely states, tribal consolidation. Abhi hum padhne wale hain integration. So integration of princely states, tribal consolidation, Kashmir issue, Pakistan ke sath war, bahut pange the hamari life mein. So basically we didn't had the time to think about the population growth. However, जब census conduct हुआ, then we realized that we actually need to think about the problem of population growth. So National Family Planning Program was launched, clinical approach was launched, ठीक है. Then 61 to 71 का period आया. During that time, we realized that obviously the decadal growth rate was very high. It was somewhere around 21.5%. So it was realized that it is a major challenge and it needs to be addressed. So Indian government came up with different approaches, extension approach, cafeteria approach, selective approach. This extension approach was the first step towards population education, however, in a non-formal sector. क्योंकि क्लिनिकल अप्रोच का मतलब था दैट ऑल दोज कपल्स हु आर ऑलरेडी इंकरेज्ड और इनलाइटेंड टू अवेल फैमिली प्लानिंग बेनिफिट्स, द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर वुड बी प्रोवाइडेड टू देम, बट गवर्नमेंट वुड नॉट बी मेकिंग एफर्ट्स टू क्रिएट अवेयरनेस. हाउएवर इट वाज रियलाइज्ड दैट विदाउट क्रिएटिंग अवेयरनेस इट इज नॉट सर्विंग आवर पर्पस. सो इन 1961 के बाद जो ये फेज था 61 टू 71, वी लॉन्च्ड द एक्सटेंशन अप्रोच, दैट इज कम्युनिटी एक्सटेंशन अप्रोच. सो इन रूरल एरियाज वी वर क्रिएटिंग अवेयरनेस via means of educating people about the benefits of small family and how they should seek access to the family planning methods. Then फिर cafeteria approach आया, selective approach आया. इतना डिटेल में जाके क्या करेंगे. Cafeteria का मतलब होता है जैसे कैफेज में नहीं होता, यू हैव लॉट ऑफ ऑप्शन ऑफ कॉफ़ी, कैफे लाटे, कैपेचिनो, मोका, वट एवर इट इज़, एंड यू कैन चूज अल्टीमेटली विच एवर यू प्रेफर. सो फैमिली प्लानिंग मेथड्स में भी वी वुड बी प्रोवाइडिंग देम द चॉइसेस, बट अल्टीमेट choice which method to adopt will that be of the couple. Then selective approach, they found that in this age bracket of 25 to 35 the reproductive behavior is at its peak, so they started targeting for better result, they started targeting the couple in this reproductive age bracket. So that is nothing but the selective approach. However, after this it was realized that population education has emerged as an indirect means to strengthen the direct intervention strategies and approaches in order to attain this national demographic goal. It was realized that bhai approaches apni jagah hai, direct intervention strategies apni jagah hai, but until and unless population education is not being ensured, the desired result would not be guaranteed. So for the very first time जब नेशनल पॉपुलेशन पॉलिसी आई, क्योंकि 71 में इतनी अप्रोचेस के बाद डेकेडल ग्रोथ रेट और बढ़ गया, आई थिंक इट वाज 24.5%. सो एवरीबडी वाज बैफल्ड. सो दिस टाइम दे रियलाइज नहीं, वी नीड अ नेशनल पॉपुलेशन पॉलिसी टू कंट्रोल द पॉपुलेशन. सो इट वाज ड्यूरिंग इमरजेंसी, ये तो सभी को पता है, दैट फोर्सफुल स्टरलाइजेशन हैपेंड एंड बिकॉज ऑफ विच कांग्रेस लॉस्ट द पावर. सो व्हेन जनता पार्टी केम टू पावर एंड द फर्स्ट नेशनल पॉपुलेशन पॉलिसी वाज पुट फॉरवर्ड इन 1978, द फर्स्ट बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स थे उसमें कि फैमिली प्लानिंग से फैमिली वेलफेयर हो गया, देन मिनिमम एज वाज इंक्रीज्ड, देन वॉलंटरी स्टरलाइजेशन कर दिया था, मॉनेटरी इंसेंटिव्स थे, थ्रस्ट टू रिसर्च in reproductive biology and everything, how media should be used to create awareness. But जो बहुत significant and specific aspect था, that the focus was to introduce population education as a part of study curriculum. That was the most significant feature, that how sterilization as in family planning was made voluntary and how population education was supposed to be made the part of study curriculum. Is that clear? So that was a significant aspect about 1978 national population policy. Until 1986, when a new national education policy was introduced, till that time population education was the part of national population policy only. It was for the very first time in 1986 when national education program or the policy was launched that it clearly specified that there is a need to reduce the population, and population education was made the part of the national education policy in 1986. Is that very clear? However, this is the body. वो सिर्फ आपकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए था. आप एक आध लाइन में अगर थोड़ा बैकग्राउंड देना चाहो तो दे सकते हो, अदरवाइज इट इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड. दैट सी आई हैव क्लियरली रिटन ओनली फॉर द रेफरेंस. So now it depends how much space you have occupied. So this can be an added thing. तो इसमें कुछ कुछ चीजें आप लिख सकते हो, that सिर्फ इतना भी mention कर सकते हो that 1978 की जो first national education policy थी, the focus was on educational and voluntary approach to family welfare, because it was realized that it can be an indirect means to strengthen the direct intervention strategies and approaches. And finally in 1986 it became the part, categorically it was stated under national education policy, to reduce population. Now it was realized that although a lot of approaches have been taken with respect to population control, but the need for population education to address the issue led to the government taking following measures. This is nothing but the linking statement, and you can start with the efforts. How National Population Education Project, क्योंकि लिखा है ना उसमें कि whatever measures have been taken you have to mention in detail. So at school level National Population Education Project was launched, then Adolescent Reproductive Sexual Health Program was created, then higher education level pay. In the current scenario under National Education Policy, population dynamics and management has been included as an area of research. However, the commitment of UGC to population education at the higher level, school level nahi, higher level, goes back to 1983, जब financial support used to be provided for organizing population education clubs. Then in 1986 various lecture series were introduced, TV series were introduced, population education was incorporated at undergraduate level, all of that. Then adult education, now under national education policy there has been a curriculum which has a mandatory program which includes family welfare and planning. Then with respect to out of school जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं, जो adolescent हैं, then United Nations Population Fund and Ministry of Youth Affairs have always collaborated in context of adolescent health and development project. There has been various efforts for these out of school children. यहाँ पे आप आशा वर्कर्स भी लिखना चाहो तो लिख सकते हो. तो NGOs, ग्राम सभा, peer volunteers to create awareness with respect to reproductive and sexual health. Then youth policy, राष्ट्रीय किशोर स्वास्थ्य कार्यक्रम, all of that was there to create awareness, sex education provide करना among the adolescents so as to reduce the incidences of adolescent pregnancies. Is that clear? तो आपने डिटेल में बता दिया कि क्या एफर्ट्स लिए हैं स्कूल लेवल पे, हायर एजुकेशन लेवल पे, अडल्ट एजुकेशन लेवल पे, आउट ऑफ स्कूल चिल्ड्रन के लिए हमने बता दिया. फाइनली, डिस्पाइट एफर्ट्स, population education is not comprehensive क्योंकि national education policy has incorporated an area of population dynamics and management at higher level, but they have failed to incorporate reproductive and sexual health education at the level of school curriculum. So now it is saying that you know that the current situation, there is a population bulge among youth, there is a problem of teenage pregnancy, AIDS burden, unsafe abortion, skewed sex ratio. So it is essential that you include a comprehensive population education curriculum at school level. You train your teachers, sensitize the parents. So this is overall conclusion. Is that clear? अगर आपने national education policy पढ़ी है डिटेल में, जो कि अब you have seen that we have clearly mentioned that, ठीक है, in our mains 365 PT 365 के कंटेंट में लास्ट ईयर के क्लियरली डिटेल में नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी दे रखी है, तो वहां से you will get an idea that what efforts have been made. But one of the challenge is even today reproductive health is not being incorporated in the official school curriculum. That still remains a challenge. So that needs to be addressed. Is that clear for everyone? Is the question clear? This question, what is cryptocurrency? How does it affect global society? And how has it been affecting Indian society also? Or has it been affecting Indian society? Obviously it is affecting Indian society. That is why government time and again is asking, even recently our Prime Minister has asked the global scenario to cooperate with us on the issue of cryptocurrency. Okay. So basically it's a direct question, it's a 15 marker, there are 3 parts to it. So you can easily divide, पहला पार्ट थोड़ा छोटा कर लेते हैं और क्या कर सकते हैं, या फिर आप तीनों को 5-5 नंबर में डिवाइड करके, दैट इज जस्ट फॉर योर साइकोलॉजिकल सेटिस्फैक्शन, हाउ मच टू बी रिटन. अब व्हाट इज क्रिप्टो करेंसी है, सो आई वुड प्रेफर, मतलब choice is yours. You can start with the definition of cryptocurrency and you can write about certain features of it, because there's a specific question. You are not just writing about cryptocurrency just to introduce the answer. You are writing specifically because it has been asked in the question. Now obviously you might have studied by current affairs में इतना vogue concept था तो सभी बात कर रहे थे इसके बारे में. So what is cryptocurrency? So it's a form of digital asset which is based on a network that is distributed across a large number of computers. It is secured by cryptography So obviously it is impossible to counterfeit or double spend. Then many cryptocurrencies are decentralized networks which are based on blockchain technology. However, one of the defining feature of cryptocurrency is that it is not issued by any central authority, so they are theoretically immune to any kind of government interference and manipulation. So basically, any definition of cryptocurrency which you are aware of, some idea about the features, how it is secured by cryptography, how they are the decentralized network based on blockchain technology, how the defining feature is they are not issued by the central authority, so they are basically immune from any kind of government interference and manipulation. This is the first part of your answer. Now, in this particular question, I have clearly specified if you want to do away with the linking statement, आप कर सकते हो, क्योंकि specifically 3 different questions दे रखे हैं as a part of a single question. So you can directly talk about the impact of cryptocurrency in the global scenario. However, अगर लिखना चाहो तो लिख सकते हैं that cryptocurrencies are obviously valuable to global economy and society in general, as money has always played a critical role in the evolution of society. So with invention of internet, we are witnessing a steady transition away from the value which is embedded in the physical asset to the value which is embedded in the digital asset. Is that clear? So this can be one of the linking para if you want. Otherwise you can genuinely avoid and directly you can come to the point. I told you, no, we can have subheadings, we can write the answer in bullets. ठीक है, so you can start the effect on global society. अब एक साथ लिखना चाहो तो लिख सकते थे, but मैंने separately लिखा है positive and negative, and I have given you a detailed content so that you can choose your points. So obviously effect on global society है, so it is a new paradigm, a decentralized paradigm for money. So it eliminates the possibility of a single point of failure such as large banks, which often have a cascaded impact with respect to the crisis in the general scenario or around the world. Is that clear? So since it's a decentralized paradigm for money, it eliminates the possibility of a single point of failure. जैसे suppose करो अगर US की economy है, it is suffering, so obviously it is determined by dollar and dollar is largely accepted. It's a world currency जो एक तरह से it is operating. So any impact which is happening there, ठीक है, it would have a cascading impact on the other countries which are associated. So since this is decentralized paradigm, it is not under the influence of any particular government or their manipulation. It protects the countries as well as the individual against the possibility of a single point of failure. Then obviously the remittance economy is one of the most prominent use of cryptocurrency. For example, Bitcoin, it can serve as an intermediate currency to streamline the money transfer across the border. Then transaction cost kam hai, low level of entry hai, quickness hai, anonymity hai. So that are the advantages in the global scenario. Most importantly, it is going to serve as a stable store of value. It would not be dependent on the actions of the national government. It is specifically useful for the countries with weak national currency or excess inflation. And since they are based on distributed global ledger, no one country or the government will be able to control its prices. It is specifically based on demand and supply. For example, El Salvador is the first country of the world which has adopted Bitcoin as a legal tender. So that is the global positive impact. However, there are certain negative impacts. Since it is not regulated, obviously you would not be able to tax the financial gains which are generated through cryptocurrency buying and mining. And because of this uncollected tax revenue, it is going to negatively impact the developmental schemes, specifically in context of the developing nations. Is that clear? Similarly, there are very few of us who have the knowledge and awareness with respect to cryptocurrency. So obviously the probability or the possibility of further widening the gap between the haves and have-nots would be very high. Then it has become a popular tool among the criminals for their nefarious activities. For example, money laundering, illicit purchases, then how aggravation of drug trafficking, because they are being used in conducting transactions through dark web. There is an example of Dread Pirate Robert, who ran a marketplace to sell drugs on the dark web. And it is the same anonymity which was an advantageous thing. The same anonymity along with cross-border transfer is posing threat to the global peace and security, because this cryptocurrency can be used for terror financing. So it is negatively impacting the global society. With respect to India, now, obviously, many of us might not be aware about the data, so you can give up on the data, but in case अब तो हमें डिटेल एनालिसिस करना ही था, तो डेटा हम दे सकते हैं. एज पर वर्ल्ड गोल्ड काउंसिल डेटा, 1.5 crore Indians approximately they hold cryptocurrency assets. NASSCOM backed study says that more than 230 Indian startups have started operating within the crypto tech space. It is expected that this crypto space is going to develop faster and will reach the amount of $241 million by 2030. Also, it has a potential to generate additional economic value addition of $184 billion in investment as well as cost saving. It also stands to create 8 lakh jobs by 2030 in context of India. So that is, has it impacted Indian society? It does have a potential to impact Indian society in a very positive manner by creating job opportunities, by value addition, economic value addition in terms of investment, by ensuring development of startups, that is creation of job givers rather than job seekers. Then most importantly, India is a substantial remittance economy. So the Bitcoin can be, and it is quite attractive. So the cryptocurrency can be ensured to streamline the process and make the remittances or sending and receiving remittances hassle free. However, there are certain negative impact. The negative impact is because of the decentralized nature, there is a greater risk of fraud. And the person who has been defrauded or deceived will not have access to the same legal recourse as that of traditional fraud victims. Similarly, it provides for the criminal organization. This is not very specific to India. In global scenario also it is operating. In context of India, when we were discussing drug problems, so we did discuss that how with the emergence of technology, with the emergence of this concept of dark web or cryptocurrency, the problem of drug trafficking is further getting aggravated. Then RBI governor has shown concern about the financial stability, because individual is getting very attracted towards investment in cryptocurrency because of better returns. However, there is a fear that they might invest their credit cards or they take loan from the banks in order to invest in cryptocurrency, and in case they fall sharply, it will increase the incidences of NPA accounts in the banks. Then obviously it will reduce the importance of your own national currency, because let us say if cryptocurrency becomes the main mode of operation, so you are purchasing your food, you're purchasing your house, everything on the basis of that cryptocurrency or via cryptocurrency, so the importance of your own national currency would be diluted. So that is another problem. Then most importantly, it is the youth that is constituting the cream of workforce which is getting attracted towards cryptocurrency. However, because of there is existing uncertainty with respect to the future of this digital asset, there is increased incidences of anxiety, stress. It is negatively impacting the well-being of the youth, which is the main engine of growth of our society. So that is another problem. So overall conclusion, you can write that it is in its nascent phase in India, cryptocurrency. And since increasing number of young people are investing in it because of the notion of higher returns, and since there are uncertainties associated, a strict regulatory framework is the need of the hour. Is that clear? ये second वाला छोड़ भी सकते हैं. I think this makes better sense. ठीक है? So this is the conclusion which could have been written. Is this very clear for everyone? तो अगर आपने क्रिप्टो करेंसी पढ़ी है, सो आई डोंट थिंक दिस इज चैलेंजिंग. ट्रस्ट मी, वो देखकर एकदम से लगा अरे ये क्वेश्चन कैसे पूछ लिया, पेपर 3 में पूछ लेते तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, पेपर 1 में पूछ लिया इसलिए थोड़ा सा अजीब लग रहा है. इज दिस क्लियर? नाउ एग्जामिन द यूनिकनेस ऑफ ट्राइबल नॉलेज सिस्टम when compared with mainstream knowledge and cultural system. Read the question again. Examine the uniqueness. You have to compare the uniqueness of tribal knowledge system when you are comparing it with mainstream knowledge and the cultural system. I am always of the opinion that whenever the comparison has to be brought about, you should always specify the parameters based on which the comparison is happening. That's the one thing which I always believe in. Whether it is Indian secularism with the secularism of West, or westernization with modernization, or whatsoever it is, wherever the comparison has to be brought about, there has to be broad parameters which needs to be defined based on which the comparison is happening. That's one thing. Second thing is, in this question, we all know that tribal communities, not only specific to India but across the world, they are known for their unique knowledge system and unique culture. One thing. Second thing is that in context of India, a general impression about the tribal communities that we had has that tribals are homogeneous, they are geographically isolated, there is shyness of contact, they are unstratified, there is unique culture and a distinct means of livelihood. We know this is a general understanding about tribal communities in general, right? Now, once you have started with this, then you have a choice. If you want to write, you can write any one of them. Since it's a 10-marker question, I think it's a 10-marker question. So, there is not much scope to written in the answer in the introduction. So just a basic understanding से आप start कर सकते हो, और चाहो तो इनमें से कोई भी एक point लिख सकते हो that their social structure is deeply rooted in traditional location and community setting, or you can write that they live in harmony with the nature, or you can talk about that they have developed their institution, customs and practices based on their unique cultural and religious beliefs. Any one of the point can be written in the introduction, totally depend upon your choice. Otherwise, you could have generally written a general understanding about tribals is they are homogeneous, shyness of contact, geographically isolated, unique culture and a distinct means of livelihood. And they are known for their unique culture with respect to knowledge system and cultural system, not only in India but across the world. इस तरह से आप शुरुआत कर सकते हो. Then, linking statement. The uniqueness of tribal knowledge system when compared with the mainstream knowledge and cultural system can be discerned from the following. You are just paraphrasing the main demand of the question to tell the examiner that you know what is the demand of the question, and so as to remain relevant to the demand. Now, I told you that whenever you are making a comparison, it is always advisable to have broad parameters. So, what we have done in the body, that broad parameters, for example, with respect to origin. Compare ही तो करना है ना ट्राइबल की यूनिक नॉलेज विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू दी मेन स्ट्रीम नॉलेज, so we can compare based on origin, that how tribal knowledge system has originated from the observation of nature, specifically the behavior of bird and animals. For example, it is being said among the tribal community, if crows they leave their nest, that means monsoon is about a day away. Is that clear? That's a belief. So by observing the nature over the period of time, they have developed their unique knowledge system. Is that very clear? Similarly, by studying the movement of wind, bird, they try to identify the environmental developments, and it is being seen that the tribes of Andaman and Nicobar were able to protect themselves from the disaster of tsunami in 2004 because of this traditional knowledge system which they have developed based on centuries of observation of the nature. Is that clear? Similarly, the crow, if carries a part of the twig for developing their nest, is longer on the right side, that means that year there would be good rainfall. Belief hai. Okay. On the contrary, the mainstream knowledge system has originated on the years of experimentation, observation, which has resulted into development of rational knowledge, which is subjected to scientific inquiry and investigation. Is that clear? There is a logic here. Then passing, with respect to passing of knowledge, one, the origin. So one, it was centuries of observation of the nature. On the other hand, it is experimentation, okay, and theory building and everything. Then with respect to how you have passed the knowledge, so with respect to the tribal unique system, the knowledge is passed from one generation to another by the means of oral tradition. So either formally or informally, the indigenous knowledge is conveyed either through social encounters or through oral tradition or through ritual practices. These are some of the examples which I've written. You don't have to get into the detailing, but yeah, just for your understanding. For example, oral narratives about the human histories or cosmological observation, or the techniques for planting and harvesting, or the understanding about the local ecosystem. This example I have already given. Okay. So that can be one of the point. Whereas on the other hand जो मेन स्ट्रीम नॉलेज है वो वेल डॉक्यूमेंटेड होती है, इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज्ड होती है, आर्काइव्ड होती है और लार्जली पब्लिक डोमेन में होती है. So with respect to the origin, how you can compare with respect to how it is being passed from one generation to another, it can be compared. Then with respect to validity also, तो जो tribal की unique knowledge है, it is assumed that it tends to or it will remain relevant till the time the tribals continue to be agrarian society, and till the time they do not part from their culture, from their customs, from their tradition, the tribal unique knowledge will continue to remain relevant. Whereas on the contrary, since mainstream knowledge जो होती है वो static नहीं रहती है, it continues to undergo a change based on various discoveries. It tends to adapt itself to the various changes which is happening. So it will remain valid across time and space. So with respect to validity also you can compare. Then with respect to the cultural system, it is not only just about the unique tribal knowledge system, but also with respect to the cultural system, we can compare tribal cultural system with the mainstream cultural system. So whether it is matrilineality or patrilineality, whether it is codified laws versus customary laws, whether it is hierarchy versus egalitarianism. समझ गए ना, that mainstream society is largely patrilineal, whereas tribal communities such as Khasi and all are matrilineal. How tribals are driven by their customary laws, whereas mainstream society driven by the codified laws. Similarly, tribal societies is more egalitarian, unstratified, homogeneous, dogmatic, whereas the mainstream cultural system is more hierarchical, stratified. So all of that can be written. Then the application. You can also compare tribal knowledge system with the mainstream knowledge system based on the application. For example, in context of agrarian practices or with respect to the medicinal system. For example, in agricultural practices की अगर बात करें, so tribals के लिए agriculture is not just about increasing the yield. It is not just about producing food. It is producing food without harming the environment, soil and other species. Whereas in context of mainstream, we are only concerned with the productivity. So that is why there is unprecedented use or unchecked use of synthetic fertilizers or pesticides for that matter. Similarly, with respect to medicinal system, tribal medicinal system is developed based on their traditional knowledge and belief. Many a times they do believe or resort to superstition, to magical practices, to worship in order to cure diseases. Whereas on the contrary, if you applied the mainstream knowledge system with respect to the field of medicine, it is based on extensive research, clinical trials, systematized knowledge. तो सब नहीं लिखना है, मैं सिर्फ आपको एक तरीका बता रही हूँ, आपको जो चीज सूट करे. अच्छा ठीक है, चलो छोड़ो, लेट अस से हमको इतना डिटेल में नहीं पता था. आपको ये तो पता था कि ट्राइबल नॉलेज डॉक्यूमेंटेड नहीं है, इसीलिए देयर इज अ कांस्टेंट फियर दैट इट विल बी इरेडिकेटेड और इट इज एंडेंजर्ड. ये तो पता था. आपको ये भी पता था कि सुपरस्टिशन प्रैक्टिसेस हैं, मैजिकल राइट्स पे वो लोग बिलीव करते हैं. तो यहाँ पे भी हमने, क्योंकि ट्राइबल हेल्थ हमने पढ़ा है और उसमें मुझे अच्छे से याद है हमने ये डिस्कस किया था कि ट्राइबल हेल्थ का वन ऑफ द चैलेंज इज दैट दे डोंट हैव एक्सेस टू द साइंटिफिक मेडिसिनल सिस्टम. दे मेनी अ टाइम्स दे ट्राई टू रिलाई ऑन देयर ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज अबाउट द मेडिसिन और द मैजिक और द सुपरस्टिशन और द वर्शिपिंग ऑफ द गॉड और द डीटीज. तो हमने ये पढ़ी थी बात, तो हम ये थोड़ा सा इधर उधर से माइंड करके वी कैन ऐड. कल्चरल सिस्टम हम डिटेल में जनरली पढ़ते हैं, मैट्रिलिनियलिटी वर्सेस पैट्रिलिनियलिटी, कस्टमरी लॉज वर्सेस कोडिफाइड लॉज, इगैलिटेरियनिज्म वर्सेस हायरार्की, ये हम पढ़ते हैं. ठीक है, हम ये भी पढ़ते हैं दैट हाउ दे हैव बिलीव इन द फोर्सेस ऑफ नेचर. ठीक है, हाउ दे आर डेवलपिंग देयर नॉलेज बेस बेस्ड ऑन द ऑब्जर्वेशन ऑफ नेचर. हाँ, हो सकता है हमको स्पेसिफिक एग्जाम्पल क्रो वाला नहीं पता था, तो कोई बात नहीं, हम लार्जली ये ब्रॉड पॉइंट्स तो लिख ही सकते थे ना. ठीक. Overall features, tribal knowledge, they promote integrated learning, whereas mainstream system, they have bifurcated the knowledge and tradition. Tribal systems are more non-exclusionary knowledge system and it is marked by equity, whereas mainstream knowledge system is confronted with the issues like cost of education, social exclusion, quality, accessibility to the knowledge system or the educational institutes. ये तो general points हैं, ये तो आप वैसे भी लिख सकते हो. ठीक है. Conclusion. Tribals live in consonance with nature and follow a distinct way of life. Their indigenous knowledge is important, and hence it needs to be preserved and integrated into the mainstream life in order to ensure sustainable development. Hence, the recent initiative of traditional knowledge digital library is a much needed step. Basically, it is there to protect the traditional tribal knowledge from biopiracy and unethical patent. तो आपको ये रीजन लिखने का जरूरत नहीं है, बट हाँ आप ये ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज डिजिटल लाइब्रेरी का एग्जाम्पल कोट कर सकते हो. आई होप दिस आंसर इज क्लियर. ठीक है. सो अगेन आई एम रीआइटरेटिंग माई सेल्फ दैट कभी कभी हो सकता है दैट एग्जैक्ट स्पेसिफिक कंटेंट नहीं पता हो. Try to mine the answer, and that would not happen directly in the examination hall. You need to practice that before. You have to prepare your mind to be prepared for such unexpected and uncertain questions. ठीक है. हमने ट्राइबल्स हर तरह से पढ़ा है, बट शायद हमने ये कंपैरिजन नहीं पढ़ा था, तो फिर कंपैरिजन आपको क्रिएट करना पड़ेगा बेस्ड ऑन वॉट एवर यू हैव स्टडीड सो फार. इज दैट क्लियर? सो विद दिस सोसाइटी कम्स टू एन एंड. And we have the last question. However, this question is related to post-independence. In the beginning of the lecture itself, I have told you that post-independence was not asked for so many years. So finally, 2013, when syllabus got changed, immediately they asked 5 questions. So suddenly post-independence became the most important subject, and everybody started studying this, that, although it's very interesting. Trust me, it's very interesting. So yeah, obviously it is interesting, and the examples from post-independence India can help you create fodder for your essay writing. ठीक है. So all of that is there. In fact, in your ethics paper also. So वो सब है, वो सारी कहानियां अपनी जगह. लेकिन हाँ, उसके बाद यूपीएससी ने क्वेश्चन पूछना ही बंद कर दिया. एक बार पूछा था दलित मूवमेंट, वो भी सोसाइटी से आंसर हो जाता, और एक बार था लिंग्विस्टिक रीऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ स्टेट, टू व्हाट एक्सटेंट इट हैज कंट्रीब्यूटेड टू इंडियन यूनिटी. दैट अगेन कुड हैव बीन आंसर्ड फ्रॉम डाइवर्सिटी इन इंडिया, जब हम लिंग्विस्टिक डाइवर्सिटी पढ़ते हैं. तो बेसिकली देखा जाए तो 2013 के बाद कोई क्वेश्चन पूछा नहीं था विच इज वेरी डायरेक्टली स्पेसिफिक टू पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस. सो नाउ विथ इंटीग्रेशन ऑफ प्रिंसली स्टेट, दैट इज completely the domain of post-independence India. That is why I said that you have just no clue how honored post-independence India might be feeling right now, that भगवान finally UPSC ने मेरी इज्जत रख ली कि पूछ लिया मेरे में से भी एक सवाल. So बस वही कहानी है. Now, how one is supposed to prepare post-independence India, मैं बहुत बार बता चुकी हूँ open session में. I give you a detailed flow chart that these are the topics which are supposed to be prepared. But before I continue with this, just one thing. You might be thinking, for many of the students out there who don't have, who haven't joined any coaching for that matter, that how am I supposed to prepare for Indian society? One thing, class 12th NCRTs, there are 2 NCRTs, Indian society and social change and development. It's a must read, पहली चीज. दूसरी चीज, करंट अफेयर्स, सोशल इश्यूज. तो एनी इंस्टीट्यूट्स मैगजीन, जो भी करंट अफेयर मैगजीन होती है, इफ यू आर लेट अस से यू आर रेफरिंग टू विजन आईएएस, सो विजन आईएएस का करंट अफेयर्स में एवरी मंथ यू हैव सोशल इश्यूज दैट नीड्स टू बी स्टडीड. थर्ड थिंग, reading newspapers are very important. Reason being, you at least get an idea of what theme might be asked in the examination, and you cannot just blindly be dependent on any coaching institute for that matter. हो सकता है ना हमारा पर्सपेक्टिव अलग हो, हमें लगा ही ना हो कि वो टॉपिक इंपॉर्टेंट है और हमने नहीं डाला. तो एक थॉट प्रोसेस डेवलप करने के लिए इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट एटलीस्ट रीड एनी वन न्यूज़पेपर. Then there is one magazine which one can refer, that is Yojana. तो at least the cover page article of Yojana you should read. At least इतना कर सकते हैं. ठीक है. I would not ask you to read 10 books. भाई हम ये कह सकते हैं कि ट्राइबल्स नदीम हसनैन से पढ़ लो, या यू नो एस.सी. दुबे पढ़ लो, या कोई और. कोई पॉइंट नहीं है. क्या करोगे इतना सब पढ़कर? ठीक है. कोई गारंटी तो है नहीं कि सेम क्वेश्चन आएगा. तो प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस को सॉल्व करो. Based on these subsequent analysis sessions which we have conducted on our YouTube platform, try to develop the understanding of writing the answers approaching the questions. That can be done from your side. For having that confidence, what minimum supposed to be read? So obviously you can read class 12th NCRTs, and if you can get access to the classroom notes of Indian Society of Vision IAS, भाई किसी और का तो मैं नहीं बोल सकती क्योंकि मैंने पढ़ा नहीं है, तो मुझे पता नहीं है कि और कहाँ क्या चल रहा है. अपना मैं कह सकती हूँ कि अगर क्लासरूम नोट्स मिल जाएं कहीं से तो आप वो एक्सेस कर लो. टेलीग्राम वगैरह पे होंगे बतेरे. एक वो चीज़ है. दूसरी चीज़ है, देयर इज़ अ टेलीग्राम चैनल, my personal telegram channel which is there, Smriti Shah _Vision IAS. I think this is the channel, तो नाम भी याद नहीं आ रहा है. So on that channel I keep on uploading from time to time my handwritten notes with respect to society, so social justice. So you can access that Telegram channel, तो वहाँ से जो कंटेंट मिल जाए तो मिल जाए. तो इस तरह से हम अपनी तैयारी कर सकते हैं. लेकिन अगर स्टैंडर्ड बुक पूछोगे तो मैं सिर्फ NCERTs कहूँगी. ठीक है. सो न्यूज़पेपर, मैगजीन, करंट अफेयर्स ऑफ विजन IAS एंड NCERTs. सो दिस इज बेसिक विच हैज़ टू बी डन. और देखो ये मत बोलना है मैम इतना बता दिया, 2 NCERT पढ़ने में बिल्कुल टाइम नहीं लगता है, तो बहुत आराम से हो जाएगा. ठीक है. As far as post independence is concerned, there is a book called Bipin Chandra. So India since independence, that can be read, one thing. Second thing, there is a Pradhan Mantri series which is available I think on YouTube, so that can also be listened and watched. It's quite interesting series. वैसे भी कहानियाँ सुनने में ना बड़ी मज़ा आती है. So you can listen to these and whenever you don't feel like studying, just put the headphone and just listen. नींद भी अच्छी आएगी और मज़ा भी आएगा. So that can be done. एंड विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस, एक स्टैंडर्ड बुक है बिपिन चंद्रा, पढ़ना चाहो तो पढ़ लो, नहीं तो विजन IAS की जो प्रिंटेड बुकलेट है पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस की, या फिर अगर क्लासरूम नोट्स मिल जाए, क्योंकि उसमें बिपिन चंद्रा, रामचंद्र गुहा दोनों का पर्सपेक्टिव प्लस दिस प्रधानमंत्री सीरीज है, प्लस देयर इज अ बुक ऑफ इंटीग्रेशन ऑफ प्रिंसली स्टेट्स बाय VP मेनन. सो सम ऑफ द प्रिसेप्ट्स आर बीइंग बोरोड फ्रॉम दीज बुक्स. सो एक फलियस नरिमन की किताब है, दैट वाज अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग बुक. सो फ्रॉम देयर ऑल्सो देयर आर सर्टन इncidences which are quoted. So if you can get access to the classroom notes, good enough. In case you can't, so printed material of vision IAS, that would also work fine for us. And secondly, क्योंकि थोड़ा सा क्रिस्प है, कंसाइज है, अदरवाइज बिपिन चंद्रा थोड़ी सी चैलेंजिंग हो जाती है. इट इज स्लाइटली बल्की बुक. एंड वन थिंग वन शुड डू, उससे क्या होता है, सिर्फ पढ़ना ना एट टाइम्स गेट बोरिंग. सो व्हेन यू वॉच द डॉक्यूमेंट्री सीरीज, तो वो थोड़ा सा एक स्टोरी टेलिंग के थ्रू एक कनेक्टिविटी इस्टेब्लिश हो जाती है. सो दैट्स एन इंटरेस्टिंग वॉच, यू कैन डू दैट. ठीक है. सो लेट्स वेरी क्विकली टेक अप द लास्ट क्वेश्चन फॉर द डे. Assess the main administrative issues and socio-cultural problems in integration process of Indian princely states. See, as far as if I talk about that how one should proceed with post-independence, every time and again we have talked about that you can study the chronological aspect of post-independence via means of the various prime ministerial era. For example, Nehruvian era, Shastri's era, Indira Gandhi's era, Rajiv Gandhi, and then post-1990s. This is how it can be done. Now, when you are studying Nehruvian era, the first thing that you study is integration of princely states. When you are studying integration of princely states, you tend to study what was lapse of paramountcy, what was the background which created, or the factors which created grounds for accession of princely states. There were certain states which created problem with respect to accession prior to independence, post-independence. Then how after accession there was a problem with respect to integration. Then you study about the constitutional articles which were added, that is 291 and 362 with respect to privy purses and the right to preserve their palaces and titles. हम ये सब पढ़ते हैं. Then when you are studying the problems which are being created, you talk about the incident of Junagadh, you study about Hyderabad, you study about Jammu and Kashmir, you study about Jodhpur, Jaisalmer, Travancore. You do study. ठीक है. There is a mentioning of the fact that how the role of enlightened rulers also played its part in integration of princely states. For example, in context of Mysore, in context of Baroda, in context of Rajkot, where Praja Pratinidhi Sabha was already established, the elections took place based on universal suffrage. हम ये सब mention करते हैं. ठीक है. अब क्या मेंशन नहीं हुआ, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव एंड सोशो कल्चरल इश्यूज इस तरह से नहीं मेंशन हुआ, इंडिविजुअल स्टेट्स के थ्रू सारे एग्जांपल्स दिए गए. You know what was the problem with respect to Junagadh. Junagadh की problem ये थी that it was, see, I'm not discussing the answer. I'm just trying to help you to understand how this particular question could have been approached. Now, if you have studied integration of princely state, this is general that you study. This is there in your Bipin Chandra also, in your series also, in your Ramchand Guha also, everywhere this is there. ठीक है. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि मैंने क्रिएट, नहीं, सब जगह है. ठीक. पॉइंट क्या है, आप जूनागढ़ पढ़ते हो. सो व्हेन यू स्टडी जूनागढ़, यू नो इट वाज अ हिंदू मेजॉरिटी एरिया, बट इट वाज अंडर द रूल ऑफ नवाब महाबत खान एंड दीवान वाज शाहनवाज भूटो. ही हैड इज preference to accede to Pakistan. So can I say the socio-cultural issue में the religious alliance or preference or association of these princes with Pakistan was one of the socio-cultural challenge which we faced with respect to integration of princely state. You know the example of Junagadh, right? आपने ये भले ही ना पढ़ा हो separately कि administrative issues या socio-cultural issues क्या थे, but आपने you have studied ना what was the problem with respect to Junagadh. So now that problem with example has to be written under socio-cultural aspect. I still remember when we were discussing Jammu and Kashmir, I told that Jammu and Kashmir was culturally heterogeneous. Jammu was different from Valley of Kashmir, was different from Ladakh, was different from Gilgit and Baltistan. In fact, they were disparate states or the areas. In fact, they were brought under the one specific control or homogeneous control by Dogra dynasty in 19th century. So cultural heterogeneity was the major problem with integration of Jammu and Kashmir. Why? Because there were certain people who wanted to integrate to India, whereas there were many who wanted to integrate to Pakistan, because culturally बहुत distinct थे. Did you get my point? ठीक है. So जब आपने जम्मू एंड कश्मीर पढ़ा तब आपने ये point पढ़ा था. Right? So now you know what is supposed to be written under socio-cultural challenges which we have faced. Did you get my point? Then another aspect was, for example, there were different princely states, and if you would have noticed, obviously there was part A state, part B, part C. There were different states. That was the different criteria under which the states were integrated. For example, British provinces jo the, they were brought under part A status, whereas these princely states, the large princely states as well as the small who were territorially contiguous, they were brought together and they were put under the status of part B. तो उनमें से एक स्टेट हुआ करता था पेप्सू, which was created by merging 8 princely states. Now you have merged those 8 princely states in order to create one state, that is Pepsu, but you didn't realize that those 8 states are culturally and linguistically different. Again, it was posing a socio-cultural challenge. Did you get my point, what I'm trying to say here? So you have studied the individual aspect. Clear है? ठीक है? You just have to brought that individual examples under 2 separate headings, that is administration and socio-cultural. Another major challenge was the size of the state. एक तरफ हैदराबाद था, which was as the largest state territorially, 86,000, more than 86,000 square miles, whereas on the other area that was Bang Pahadi, Bundelkhand में था, and that was the smallest princely state, वो 5 square miles territory thi. So there was a huge difference in the size, and not only the difference in the size, there was a difference with respect to their income, with respect to their revenue, with respect to their taxation, with respect to the level of modernization, industrialization which has happened in those areas. So that was the challenge. Another administrative issue था, यूनिफॉर्मिटी नहीं थी. अब हमने पढ़ा था जब हम बात कर रहे थे कि what were the factors which created grounds for the accession and integration of princely states. In that we talked about that how in some majority of the princely states, the local population was very disenchanted by the princes, because obviously very high rate of taxation and revenue was being extracted from these people, and that revenue which was being generated was not used for the development of these individual subjects. In fact, that was used for the luxurious lifestyle of the princes. For example, Junagadh, during that time Nawab Muhammad Khan has spent 3 lakh rupees on the marriage of 2 dogs. So obviously the local population was getting disenchanted. So there was an awakening among the local population, and various Praja Parishads were formed in the respective princely states to fight against the princes for the right of self-determination. उसकी वजह से क्या हुआ था, कुछ states थे, they had, obviously they realized the strength of the popular agitation, and because of which they started working for the welfare of the people. For example, Mysore में, for example, Baroda में सिविल लिबर्टीज दिए गए, एजुकेशनल यूनिवर्सिटीज सेटअप की गई, मॉडर्न एजुकेशन दी गई. तो एट द टाइम ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस जो एक स्टेटस था ना सेपरेट प्रिंसली स्टेट्स का, वो भी आपस में बहुत डिफरेंट था. कोई यूनिफॉर्मिटी नहीं थी. ठीक है, कहीं पे बहुत इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन मॉडर्नाइजेशन हुआ है, कहीं पे सिविल लिबर्टीज गारंटी की गई हैं, कहीं पे इलेक्शन कंडक्ट, और कहीं पे जैसे राजपूताना स्टेट्स देर आज भी उस टाइम पे बेगारी एग्जिस्ट कर रही थी और सर्वडम एग्जिस्ट कर रहा था और बहुत ही ज़्यादा backwardness was existing. So there was lot of variation which was existing with respect to the socio-economic profile of these princely states. So not only the territory but also the socio-economic profile was a major challenge. So these things were posing administrative issues with respect to the integration of princely states. Similarly, और क्या problems आ रही थी? अब दिक्कत क्या थी? The hierarchy of princes भी exist करता था. अब जैसे ये पेप्सू है, इसमें 8 princely states को merge करके पेप्सू बनाया. तो जो पटियाला के महाराज थे उनको राज प्रमुख का स्टेटस दिया गया. So his status was higher as compared to the status of other rajas or the princes. So obviously there was a problem. That major bone of contention was also the hierarchy of these princes. Is that very clear? Most importantly, हर princely state ने अलग तरह की treaty sign करी थी ब्रिटिशर्स के साथ. जैसे निजाम ऑफ हैदराबाद, they signed a treaty as an ally against Mysore with the Britishers, right? Whereas on the other hand, जो आपके मराठा chiefs थे, they had they have defeated by the company forces, so that is why they signed the treaty. Whereas जैसे पटियाला हो गया, ये सारे states थे, इन्होंने in order to seek protection has entered into a treaty from the neighbors with British crown. So the treaty, the basis of treaty and the factors why these treaties were signed with the individual states were also very different. तो कोई uniformity नहीं थी यार उनके privilege में, उनके rights में. तो एक uniformly integration ensure करना was also a challenge. Is that clear? Then challenge was there also with respect to the integration of northeast states. For example, Manipur, Tripura. Manipur did agree for the instrument of accession because they had to surrender only 3 subjects: defense, foreign relation and communication. But they were not okay with the idea of merger with the Indian Union because they wanted to preserve their internal autonomy with respect to administrative matters. तो princes को ये डर था. तो instrument of accession तक तो फिर भी ठीक था. But with complete merger, they had the fear that they have to give up on their aristocracy. They have to adhere to the constitutional provisions. They have to give the rights to their subjects, and they didn't want that to happen. Is that clear? So obviously there was a lot of issues with respect to the integration of princely states, which further was trying to be resolved by the linguistic reorganization of the states. So integration ऐसा नहीं था कि एक दिन में हो गया या एक साल में हो गया. It was a long process which existed for at least 3 decades after independence. Is that very clear? ठीक है. सो कीपिंग दैट इन माइंड, अगर आपको एग्जैक्टली एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सोशो कल्चरल इश्यूज नहीं भी पता थे लेकिन आपने इंडिविजुअल स्टेट्स के इश्यूज पढ़े हैं, यू कैन इजीली आंसर द क्वेश्चन. In colonial India, approximately 40% of the territory was occupied by these small and large states which were enjoying varying degrees of autonomy under the system of British paramountcy. Unifying these princely states under one administration was definitely a challenge faced by the political leadership. There were ये linking para है, linking statement है, ठीक है. This is the introduction, this is the linking statement. Now, there were multiple problems which were faced in the process of integration of these Indian princely states. The first one is the administrative issues. Under that, we can talk about varied widely in terms of size and status, whereas on one hand you had Hyderabad 82,698 square miles, whereas on the other hand Bank Pahadi 5 square miles. So obviously there was a variation. Some larger states had their own railways, currencies, stamps, so there was a challenge with respect to their integration, especially in context of larger states. भैया निजाम ऑफ हैदराबाद ने तो साफ मना कर दिया था कि हम करेंगे ही नहीं. The sovereignty of Hyderabad is non-negotiable. तभी तो ऑपरेशन कैक्टस, पोलो, कैटरपिलर, कैक्टस नहीं, ऑपरेशन पोलो, पुलिस एक्शन और कैटरपिलर, सॉरी, सो दैट ऑपरेशन वाज लॉन्च्ड. तो आप चाहे उसे ऑपरेशन पोलो कहो, चाहे आप उसे पुलिस एक्शन कहो, there were different names to it. Then obviously issue of sovereignty. So with lapse of paramountcy, princely states had the option, either you can join any of the dominion or you can remain independent. So obviously most of the princely states were contemplating independence because they didn't want to lose their position of power and prestige. So that became the administrative challenge. Then also not only the problem was with respect to the size and the status, the problem was with respect to variation in context of their income, taxation, pace of modernization, industrialization. I've already told you the points. Then also there was no uniformity with respect to the rights, the treaty obligation and privileges which were granted to the different rulers by the British crown. For example, Nizam of Hyderabad, for example, Maratha chief, for example, other states. ठीक है. Then princely privileges. The extent of princely privileges जो retain किए जाएंगे, कितना compensation दिया जाएगा, hierarchy among the princes, privy purses, they were also the point of contention. Then the issue was also with respect to whether the view of authority, that is the prince, has to be taken note of, or you have to give primacy to the popular will. जैसे जूनागढ़, जैसे जोधपुर कि प्रिंसेस का मन था, दे वर मोर इंटरेस्टेड इन अलाइंग और इन एक्सीडिंग टू पाकिस्तान एज अ डोमिनियन, बट भैया हिंदू मेजॉरिटी स्टेट था, द पॉपुलर विल ऑल्सो नीड्स टू बी रिस्पेक्टेड, सो दैट वॉज ऑल्सो पोजिंग एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव challenges. Then there were certain states which had territorial or geographical proximity with Pakistan. So Pakistan was keen to attract those large border states. For example, Jodhpur, Jaisalmer. एक बड़ा interesting incident था where Hanwant Singh, who was the prince of Jodhpur, he went to meet Jinnah and he asked for various concessions, and Jinnah offered him a blank paper that whatever conditions that you have to fill, you just fill it here and you agree to accede to Pakistan. However, the talks failed later. That is a different scenario altogether, but then that was the situation which was created, and in case that talks would not have failed, then Jodhpur, Jaisalmer, Bikaner, half of Rajasthan would have gone to Pakistan, because they were actually trying to attract these border states because they wanted to compensate for the loss of half of Bengal and Punjab. So then this point also created administrative issues. Then you can have the socio-cultural issues. For example, religious inclination of princes, which I talked about. Then ethnic diversity, चाहे जम्मू एंड कश्मीर हो, चाहे पेप्सू का केस हो. Isolation of princely states from the Indian freedom movement. वो तो इंटरेस्टेड ही नहीं थे, बिकॉज दे वर मोर ऑन द साइड ऑफ द ब्रिटिश रूल, बिकॉज दे वर एंजॉइंग द इम्यूनिटी offered by the Britishers because of the treaty that they had signed from any kind of internal external threat. तो उनमें वो फीलिंग ऑफ नेशनलिज्म और यूनिटी तो कभी आई नहीं थी. देन इश्यूज विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू इंटीग्रेशन ऑफ नॉर्थ ईस्ट प्रिंसली स्टेट्स ऑल्सो. ऑब्वियसली सोशो कल्चरल डिफरेंसेस था अमंग द ट्राइब्स इन द प्रिंसली स्टेट ऑफ मणिपुर, सो दे डिडंट वांट टू एक्सीड और टू इंटीग्रेट विथ मेन स्ट्रीम इंडिया, सो दे वांटेड टू प्रिजर्व देयर इंटरनल ऑटोनॉमी, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ऑटोनॉमी, सो दे इनिशियली agreed and they did sign instrument of accession. The problem was created when it came down to complete merger, that is integration, and the question is not about accession, the question is about integration. Is that very clear? Overall, there were complex administrative as well as socio-cultural issues with respect to integration of princely states. However, it was the diplomatic skills of persuasion and pressure of Sardar Patel and VP Menon that we have succeeded in ensuring these integration of these princely states. Is this very clear for everyone out there? So with this, our discussion for the day comes to an end. I think I'll be meeting you again on 22nd. I have to discuss social justice with you on that day. So then we'll interact more. ठीक है, so अभी तो होगा थोड़ा सा. Often कहते नहीं एक जल्दी जल्दी we are going to be interacting with each other. So I hope the session has added some value to your preparation, and my intention of what exactly I was trying to convey has been conveyed to you guys. In case you want to look for the further guidance, so we will be meeting on 22nd. So अगर कोई भी issue हो तो आप अपने chat box में लिख सकते हो. I'll get back to you guys. ठीक है, and you can access my Telegram channel, which is smritisha_visionis, and yeah. Okay, sociology optional, society GS1 syllabus is covered or not, or a separate study is required for the society for sociology optional students. Yogesh, see, ऐसा नहीं है. Society GS1 syllabus is more or less covered under sociology, but there is a different style of writing. When you answer the questions in optional paper, the focus is more on theoretical perspectives, so you have to quote thinkers, and there is lot more technicality which is involved when you are answering optional questions. But when you are writing answers in GS, so even though content can overlap, but the practice, specific practice of answer writing is required even if you are a sociology optional student as far as GS Indian society is concerned. ठीक है, थोड़ा सा स्केल डाउन करना होता है, टोन डाउन करना होता है आंसर को, बहुत एकेडमिक आंसर नहीं लगना चाहिए. ठीक है, ऐसा नहीं हो कि सर के ऊपर से निकल जाने वाला आंसर, तो थोड़ा सा टोन डाउन करना होता है, थोड़ा लार्जर पर्सपेक्टिव लेना होता है. ठीक है ना. सो इट्स नॉट अबाउट द कंटेंट, इट्स अबाउट द प्रेजेंटेशन, इट इज हाउ यू आर अप्रोचिंग द क्वेश्चंस. ठीक है. Is this clear? Okay. मुस्कान, बच्चे दैट डिपेंड्स. ठीक है, जब कभी कभी बहुत ही अनएक्सपेक्टेड क्वेश्चन आ जाता है, अब जैसे कैसे बताऊं, क्रायोस्फेयर पे क्वेश्चन था या मैंटल प्लूम पे क्वेश्चन था, दैट वाज आस्क्ड इन ज्योग्राफी. ओके, देयर वर सम ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम व्हिच हु डिडंट नो व्हाट एग्जैक्टली दीज टॉपिक्स आर. ऑब्वियसली वंस द पेपर में क्वेश्चन आ गया उसके बाद सबको पता होता है, एवरी पर्सन इज एनालाइजिंग दोज क्वेश्चंस जैसे हम कर रहे हैं, ठीक है. तो एग्जाम के बाद सबको पता होता है. बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग थे जिनको नहीं पता था, तो ये तो टेक्निकल है बच्चे, ये तो हम नहीं आंसर कर सकते. लेकिन सोसाइटी में ऐसा कभी नहीं होता, बिकॉज सिंस यू आर आस्किंग मी, सोसाइटी में ऐसा कभी नहीं होता दैट यू विल गेट अ क्वेश्चन विच यू डोंट नो. इस बार चैलेंज एक क्वेश्चन में आया था, वो था क्रिप्टो करेंसी, क्योंकि अगर किसी ने इकोनॉमिक्स में भी वो नहीं पढ़ा है तो भले ही वो चैलेंजिंग हो सकता है, और आप वहां पे ब्लफ नहीं कर सकते, आप उसमें सब्जेक्टिव आंसर नहीं दे सकते. आइदर यू नो व्हाट इज क्रिप्टो करेंसी और यू डोंट नो, सो दैट इज द थिंग. बट सोसाइटी में ऐसा कभी नहीं होता. इफ यू सीन प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन एंड इवन इफ यू सीन दिस ईयर्स क्वेश्चन, आईटी इंडस्ट्री डेवलप हो रही है, उसका क्या सोशियो इकोनॉमिक इंप्लीकेशन है, कैन यू से यू डोंट नो? आपको गिग इकोनॉमी पता है, आपने पढ़ा है करंट अफेयर्स में. यू हैव टू रिलेट इट टू वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट, यू कांट से यू डोंट नो. ट्राइबल का यूनिक नॉलेज सिस्टम है, यू कांट से यू डोंट नो. सो इन सोसाइटी, even though you are getting a specific question which you might not have prepared earlier, but it can't happen that you cannot write anything in that. That's the best part about society. You can write something about everything. बिकॉज उसमें कोई बहुत ऑब्जेक्टिव फैक्ट नहीं होता, बिकॉज स्टेटिस्टिक पे तो क्वेश्चन नहीं आया ना, तो ऑब्जेक्टिविटी थोड़ी कम होती है, सब्जेक्टिविटी ज्यादा होती है. सो योर अप्रोच, योर पर्सपेक्टिव मैटर्स मोर, ठीक है. इवन देन सपोज करो जैसे क्वेश्चन था पॉपुलेशन एजुकेशन, द ट्रेंड इज टू ब्रेक डाउन द वर्ड्स, द टर्मिनो. जैसे फेमिनाइजेशन ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर जब पूछा गया था, हो सकता है किसी को नहीं पता हो फेमिनाइजेशन क्या है, बट फिर उतना तो उसके लिए यू नीड टू ब्रॉडन योर एम्बिट. बट कहीं ना कहीं अगर आप टर्म को समझने की कोशिश करो कि फेमिनाइजेशन हो रहा है एग्रीकल्चर का, मतलब विमेन का पार्टिसिपेशन बढ़ रहा है, फेमिनाइजेशन, तो इस तरह से यू हैव टू ब्रेक एंड यू हैव टू ट्राई टू रिलेट टू इट, ठीक है. इसीलिए कहते हैं न्यूज़पेपर रीडिंग इज मस्ट. बट सोसाइटी में इतना चैलेंज आता नहीं है, बिकॉज यू कैन नेवर से दैट यू डोंट नो समथिंग आउटराइटली, ठीक है, क्योंकि सब्जेक्टिविटी ज्यादा होती है, ठीक है. सो ऑन दिस नोट आई कंक्लूड टुडेज सेशन. इट वाज वंडरफul interacting. However, I would have preferred if this would have been offline, because I would have got to see your faces, and it's quite it's nice, you know, it feels really nice to interact with people. अभी तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि मैं खुद से बात करके चली गई, जो कि मैं बहुत कोशिश करती हूँ कि ऐसी फीलिंग नहीं आए, लेकिन मुझे तो कभी कभी आती है that, you know, I'm just blabbering in front of the camera. But anyhow, I hope soon we get those days back. But anyhow, it was very interesting and it was very refreshing interacting with so many students after a very long time. I hope this session was interesting for you as well. Take care, people. Good night and see you on 22nd. Bye.